And we are live once again for GRAPPL FPL Gameweek 6. There's a lot of people watching that. I don't know why. I don't think it's for our FPL thing, you know, I'm pretty sure.
Oh no.
Oh, well, yeah.
We're going to get in trouble here. We just might as well say that from the get-go. I don't think there's any way around this whatsoever.
I feel like
two people that live in Liverpool, 2 Irish people, me and Ogden. It's all, you know, it's a great day.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. It's been such a quiet week as well, you know. It's just.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think we've got like the curse. Like we killed NXT UK. You know, we killed CM Punk's AEW career. We killed Vince McMahon. I know where we are. And the Queen is dead. But FPL still lives. Am I going to say that? I don't know. Anyone watch?
Not this week, it isn't.
Yeah, that's true. It's dead for this week. Like, I don't think we've got any actual FPL viewers anymore, JP. I think we chased them all off with our bad advice and terrible teams. So, you know, I've seen a lot of like FPL accounts today in morning.
Yourself, mate.
Very different.
Proud of my position at the moment.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
But we are going to be effectively talking about how the death of the Queen of England, the longest reigning monarch in this country, is going to affect fantasy league teams and how that is quietly annoying. which does and all the various political ramifications it brings up as well. So I'm sure nothing will go wrong here in any way, shape, or form. If anyone else is curious, on the alternative side, Shamrock Rovers looking good here second half against Djurgården. So every cloud.
Didn't cancel the game, no?
JP.
Nearly scored. Aaron Green should have. He's not prolific enough, but we'll talk. One day, hopefully, we'll talk about League of Ireland FPL.
What happened to Waterford? I thought you were a Waterford fan.
I am, but this is League of Ireland teams in Europe.
Just
mate.
anybody from Ireland.
Well, actually, yes, because they all serve the greater good of a World Cup winning Irish side, which I've been hanging my hat on.
It's that bit where the bloke down the pub says, "Oh, you got to support any English team in Europe." It's that in action.
There's some I prefer more than others, but this is the only representation of the League of Ireland in Europe, which normally isn't the case. Normally this is all over before any other English clubs get involved, but no. Europa Conference League, mate, it's where it's at.
Into the group stages, the coefficient will be going up. So,
yeah, mate, that coefficient talk. That's the real talk. That's proper data. No, it's XG nonsense. Coefficients. That's where.
Well, that's where
like pay-per-view buy rates back in the day. 0.2. Don't give me the buys. I want to know the number.
Because Scotland have obviously bumped it up now with Rangers and Scotland both getting into various group stages. So, Ireland's next on the way, and then eventually TNS will get in there. All these terrible minor teams will end up in Europe.
They got a gap now. They can all run over the next 2 weeks, and while everything else is shut down, including apparently live sports is shut down. Comedy can't go take part. Anything political can't take part. I think that means
comedy on Twitter.
I think that means TNT versus GCW is off next week, Gareth. I think we're done for.
Could Alex Cologne could they not just do a minute silence? No. Which would be comedy value.
I didn't see random acts of self-mutilation for 30 quid being on the list of things that were banned. So it might be all right.
Is everyone's Facebook as bad as mine tonight? Like Twitter's one world, innit, Gareth? Facebook is very much another.
My mum's family. Jesus Christ.
I don't know how.
I swear she lived with them. Honestly, the level of passion that's going on here. Slightly different from the cousins. They'll all say on the other side of the family. It's
fireworks going off in Ireland, Jamesy.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, the Facebook reminds me of we have this WhatsApp group for all the neighbours living in our estate. Just like if any if there's a break into a car or something like that or whatever, like they can kind of let each other know and that kind of thing. And there's one English guy that lives in the estate, and during the European Championships the last time, it was just all of us, all the dads basically in the estate, just laughing at England constantly or giving out about England and hoping they lost. And he finally broke the English guy. And I think it was the semi-final, and just put this big rant about how we should be supporting our neighbours and everything. And it was just the funniest thing ever. Hilarious.
Getting asked here, Gareth, if we can get a GRAPPL Sarah run in at some point. Those things are pretty good.
She's had an email. She's had an email from work to say that they're not allowed to comment anything on social media or anything like that. So I don't think popping up on it is going to make the cut.
I've got fingers crossed. I've got fingers crossed for work closed tomorrow. Oxfordshire, plenty of army people. Come on.
It feels a bit short notice, but yeah. Like my workplace.
I'm crushed, mate. I need the day off. I can't go.
My workplace has a royal patronage, so I'm kind of expecting that we'll get something. So we'll see. But yeah,
what, you're going to get a cut of the estate?
No, it's like it's obviously like the company.
I was going to say, fucking get in, Chris. You know,
the company I work for obviously has a big bit to do with the royal family, so we do a lot of their work for them. So I assume we're going to get some days off, which would be nice.
We all do their work for them.
No, that's true.
Is there officially no monarch at the moment? Like your man hasn't been...
No, he's there.
So at the moment, lads, you're actually not subjects for one night. How does that feel? You got it.
He's barely been off his seat and he's jumped in.
A bit of freedom, you feel a bit more free, a bit more like you're, You're not
The boots
answerable
come
to
off.
anybody.
The boots come off the back. That's it.
The jack boot.
Just gonna go and
there's
rustle some
weirdos, like-
peacocks or something like that, you know. Just get ourselves into a local park.
We're going to
Cheeky
kick
bit
the
of
next swan I
poaching.
see. Just
There we go. I would do, but my leprosy's keeping me indoors these days. I'm in a terrible state of affairs.
There's literally weirdos outside Buckingham Palace, isn't there? Like
Yeah.
singing "God Save the
Yeah.
King." I mean, you know what I mean? The throne's,
wa-
still warm.
Ben,
I was gonna
I'm watching them now in the pissing down rain. And it's like, I'd fuck off home. It's raining.
they
I
definitely
was
know that.
filth the weather today.
Someone's going to turn up
Absolute
yet till
filth,
tomorrow.
He's not going to shag you, lads.
Didn't she die?
His brother, mate.
Oh, they all
Way too old.
Well, that's
Way
his
too old.
Oh no.
Aren't they all up in
Cancelled
Scotland
again.
anyway? Wasn't it Balmoral where she was?
Yeah,
He
Balmoral.
was, yeah.
So Camilla and Charles are not back down in London till tomorrow. So
King's Court's consort, mate. Come on, get it right.
what's I was thinking when with like Diana, how early was it when they laid all the flowers outside, like Buckingham Palace and what have you?
Oh,
Surely
Well, it
they
was
wouldn't
dead.
have that
It was
by
dead
now.
early that she died though, wasn't it? It was like 3 or 4 a.m. Because when I was
3 or 4
when it
a.m.
happened, I was a paper boy when it happened, so I was up at like 5 a.m. and it was everywhere already at that stage.
I
My-
remember
my-
that.
my
Have you
brother
got an
has gone
alibi,
out.
Chris.
The what? Sorry.
Have you got an alibi?
So my brother had gone out on the piss, and he put on the telly and he saw it live. He fell asleep as well, and then I woke up the next morning and he told me, and I just remember just her face on the telly, no show programs on. I was like, all right, it's beyond a joke now. Come on, like let's crack on with the football here. Even Football Italia at that point in time would have done very well. And I was traveling on a train through Putney when Jill Dando died, but I have nothing to do with that. Apparently, it was some sort of Yugoslavian thing.
You don't go by Barry Bulsara on the sly or anything like that.
I might, sliding doors universe. I stop it.
Just
Like-
close me off, Benno. Just
I mean, she was no Sue Cook on Crime
Turn up
Watch,
the value.
but, you know.
I'd have to make this a private stream, I think, at some point. This will be the grapple stream that'll get us cancelled finally.
Oh yeah, this is it. This is us.
Oh,
now.
is this public?
Oh yeah.
No.
Nah, no one watches. Don't worry. Apart from tonight, apparently. Like I said, death is apparently a draw. But yeah, as a few people said in the chat and on Twitter, Queen just couldn't survive Thursday nights without her beloved NXT UK. That's why she's gone. Done and run out.
Final straw. Oh Jesus.
But that's going to be the answer to the question, isn't it? Where were you all when this happened? And it'll be like, making jokes in an FPL chat on Twitter and then going live on Twitch.
Yeah.
And see what we can get away with.
She
There's
looked,
nothing on the telly, is there? All
No.
the radio.
No.
Is it that
Be
bad?
honest.
Yeah,
Nice
so
for
like
playing
Sky
it.
Sports News is on Sky News, main event is as well. A lot of the Sky Sports channels are just like even at the races has got the American racing off tonight, but bloody Queen's taken over. So I think it will last for maybe about 20. It was generally 24 hours with Diana. How long this lasted, but. Back then, there wasn't the streaming services there are now, so you can easily just stick on Disney Plus and what have you, just to avoid all this. Which I have. And I watched about 3 episodes of The Simpsons tonight.
Do you know what? I do remember on Diana's funeral, like Republic of Ireland, James, you'll remember this, played Iceland away. Roy Keane scored twice, 4-2. I think we were 2-1 down. Kilban might have made his debut. These are irrelevant facts. But it was blessed relief that there was something to watch on that day. And had a few pints with the old fella. Just went, I'm just going to have a session here. They had the satellite. It was great. Like, so I remember her funeral quite fondly. Like, just because it was a qualifier as well.
That was during the summer, so there was no Premier League on anyway, wasn't it? It was like early August, wasn't it? Kind of.
Yeah, no, I think there were Premier League games.
was there? Okay.
England were meant to play.
England,
they cancelled it.
Here you go. So, latest news is the EFL have confirmed that its fixtures scheduled for tomorrow evening. Burnley, Norwich, and Tranmere Rovers versus Stockport County have been postponed. A determination regarding the remainder of this weekend scheduled fixtures will be made following a review of the official morning guidance. So it's looking it's off, lads, isn't it?
No way.
Official, like that thing in the Guardian was like official mourning period is 9 days.
Yeah,
and then that will take you up to the funeral anyway, and then
Tuesday, Wednesday.
So you'll go back to normal 2 game weeks.
Sunday
in FPL terms.
It takes you up to next Sunday, doesn't it? So
it's thrown a real kind of like a little cheeky little.
It's livened up the season like COVID.
It has livened up the season, not in the way that we expected.
This year's COVID.
That's it.
That's what I don't understand. We played through COVID. What's the difference? Like, why is it just a given that everything's being cancelled? Like you say, people need the people need. We're all going to go mad over the next 10 days.
Yeah, United are literally playing now, and there's no problem.
Yeah,
and they're losing, by the way.
Who?
Did they do a minute silence?
No, United. They did a minute silence. Yeah.
That
should be a minute silence and play the fucking games. Who cares? Honest to God, like. It is the greatest load of nonsense. The country comes to a standstill for 9 fucking days. Like, Jesus.
Are you playing a proper team, Jamesy? Have you got like a proper 11 out?
Yeah,
they're playing Real Sociedad, so I think they're probably the best team in their group. So they're they started with Maguire and Lindelof at centre back, but like there's no youth players. Like it's all senior players. Casemiro, Fred, Eriksen, Elanga, Ronaldo. Anthony, it's a good, strong team. They should be winning with the team they have out. They conceded a penalty just 5 minutes ago there, so it's 60 minutes gone, and it's 1-0 to Sociedad. So
it's a shame that they're going to cancel the games off because I'd love to see how James McLean responds. Being asked to do a bit of silence and stuff.
Liverpool versus Rangers in 3 weeks' time. Just put your hand up for that one. And whoever Rangers play for the next few weeks, possibly. I might be completely.
Well, it's like
what was that about
Liverpool are at home tomorrow.
Did he play today?
He was supposed to play tonight, but he's injured.
Aaron Ramsey injured. I believe it.
He was. It was the first thing I'd ask my son that actually, if that had happened.
They should have just named him on the bench anyway, just in case they get a penalty, just so he could take it.
But what are they actually going to do? Like, this is already like from an FPL point of view, obviously, again, the important point. Like, what are they going to do? Like, the season's already chopped in 2. We've already got like the big break coming. Where are these matches going to be? Like, already Brighton as well next week. I've already got one postponed, haven't they?
Yeah, it's very, very messy. Like, I remember listening to a podcast at the start of the season, and they were talking about, the way when they get to, I think, the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, that's usually a blank game week because there's usually 6 to 8 Premier League teams playing in that.
Right.
And they were saying, well, at the moment, there's only 3 options for blank game weeks. That midweeks you could put those games into. So like it's really tight. Like between now and the World Cup, there's nowhere to put them because there's European games every midweek.
Just looking here on the fixture list, so there is space between Monday the 10th of October and Friday the 14th of October to plonk quite a few games there. There's like Forest and Villa on the Monday, Brentford, Brighton on the Friday, so you can easily plonk these in there like a week's there. And then you're probably struggling, aren't you, up until like the...
they'll be
what I would say is there's going to be a few good double game weeks there, so it's bad news for anybody who's used all their chips already.
Hey, Andy's been good this week. No hits, no chips.
Well, that's got any left.
Even any minus points or anything. Hey, I'll have you know I went up 4 places last week, so I'm around the same position as you, Gareth. So
there's a couple of is it bad? How quickly did your minds go to FPL the moment you found out that the longest reigning? Straight away was because I also thought as well. Saint Maximin will probably be back by then in that, which I'm sure he wasn't even thinking about when the Queen died. So, like, there was like little things like that about those players who've got those little niggling knocks, and you're worried about them kind of being burnt out into Europe. Haaland could be playing next time round. He'll have had a week's rest, wouldn't he? Like, not like he needs rest, because I'm sure he just drinks oil like the pure footballing robot that he is.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild few weeks. Like, but this is what makes FPL seasons. It's more exciting, and it's like that. Remember that when the pandemic first happened, it was like the FPL people didn't know what to do, so they just left the game running. And like, I remember like being one of the few people who was still logging in and making transfers every week for these game weeks that didn't exist anymore. And like, it was just like at the very end of it, everyone got a wild card anyway, so it was pointless. Like, I don't know what they'll actually do. Yeah, were you in the same boat?
Oh, I was really annoyed. That really bugged me. That it meant that I ended up getting beat in my work league because just the fella could then. I had my team all lined up where I'd been like making them transfers nicely for that first thing back, and then he could just do a fucking wild card and just basically match it. It was just like, twat.
It's horrible. Well, yeah, but there are going to be people on wildcard this week. Like, what do you reckon, Chris? What do they do? Like,
people will have already made transfers, already had wild cards locked in. They're going to have to keep with it because it's obviously, I guess, there's no precedent just to wipe everything out just because of something's happened or a game's been postponed. They want to do it if there was like a torrential weather warning or something, or games got cancelled, everything still stands. So I can't see that.
I think we should get an extra wild card, personally. I just
another one.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it at this point, but
I want people to lose the transfers they've already made just to teach them a lesson.
I want Andy to get one.
Yeah. Just
Andy deserves one.
Well, it's like when teams get hacked, like what happened to me and Andy last season. Like they've got no mercy. They're just like, well, you're stuffed. Sorry, it's just you either wild card your way back in, or if you like Andy, you just take the minus hits. It's kind of like they're very rigid about how the game works. Like even that season, like we were just talking about today, Gareth. It's like they had the game weeks, wasn't it? Like game week 38 plus and things like that. There was like. They couldn't even bring themselves to make a game week 39. It just kind of just did it that way instead. Like, yeah, I don't expect any wild innovation, but it's going to be dead interesting on what they do.
They're too set in their ways to make any innovations. It feels at this point. I was I've not done a team, but I've been looking at that Champions League version of the FPL. And they have bits for like defensive midfielders. So like somebody like Jorginho gets tackles like points for tackles and interceptions and that sort of thing. You're like, man, that'd be great for FPL. Or I play fan tracks as well, and that has like everybody gets points for whatever they do throughout the game. And you're like, wow, this would be a much better way of scoring things for FPL because then it makes every player worth something. As opposed to just the way the system works. As we were saying last week, like anything that Cancelo does basically gets in points in FPL. But anything anybody else does doesn't seem to match up the same way and that sort of thing. But they're very stuck in the ways. So I do think at one point there'll be a big revamp and loads of people will probably kick off, but it will probably be for the better. Yeah, that's a different discussion for a different time, I think.
I think the only change I can think of them making was to change one of the chips, didn't they, a couple of years ago? What was that old chip?
All Out Attack, wasn't it?
All Out Attack.
He's got one of them in his back pocket. He'll use that next week. He'll pull that out.
Yeah. So how did that work then?
It was
so you could play 2-5-3. So you'd only have to play two defenders. But this was obviously before the change in Premier League tactics as to where everybody had wing backs, and it was everybody's back four was basically just 4 defenders, so they didn't get as many points. But now obviously the wing backs are basically the best scorers in the game. Only being able to play 2 defenders doesn't really have as much of a thing. They'd probably be better off if it was 7 defenders, and then people would probably play that chip instead. Probably.
It was postponed.
Cheers,
yeah, it was the world's most pointless chip because like all it meant is you could play 2 defenders. But yeah, that's like the biggest change.
I'll be there with my back four, like getting the clean sheets, and you'd be there stuck with that chip, and I'd be like, I don't want to use it. I want my clean sheets. Like,
just survive to the end of the season. But, it's just it's gonna be wild, and yet obviously there's like. If it's 2 game weeks, like Starfish said in the chat there, that's going to be a nightmare. Like you say, if it's the funeral next week, then there's 2 lots to fit in. And there's also, who were Brighton supposed to be playing that got postponed?
They've got
Palace.
Yeah. I was going to say, Bournemouth are going to come out of this smelling the roses. Like, given like they've just lost Potter to Chelsea, you know, whoever's coming in,
Brighton, you mean?
and it's
Brighton.
Brighton, sorry, yeah, and Adam Lallana's coming in now means he's got 3 weeks to get ready.
Which is mental, by the way, just to throw
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I was very
saw that
surprised
coming.
when I saw that. Apparently, he's done all of his badges at Liverpool while he's been there, like under the radar, like as a player sort of thing. So now he's just turning up because all of the backroom staff have gone. It's not just Potter; it's Graham Reed and everybody else that was under him. They're all going for I think 24 million. I think it was for the whole back staff sort of thing. So they're having to rebuild everything. So it's going to give them a chance to actually do something. Because I was thinking with this Bournemouth game coming up, they were pretty much just going to play because all the work will have already been done, won't it? They'll have already pre-planned to play Bournemouth, so they can just play the team without Potter being there. But at least now they know they're probably going to have 3 weeks to get ready for the game after.
The managerial genius of Adam Lallana, like who saw that?
Yeah, it's a big
I thought that was an Onion headline.
It's a bit Harchester, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
It's kind of stuff they do when they put like Fletch in charge, and you go, "You loon, hire someone who's done the job before, for Christ's sake."
Well, I mean, who else is out there? Like, I mean,
What are you next? Jack Wilshere for a laugh? We'll just
Sean Dyche is probably the biggest named English manager that's out there.
And
I don't think he fits
Postecoglou.
He doesn't seem like
I
a
don't.
fit.
Yeah, I was going to say, like Dyche doesn't seem like a fit. The Celtic manager, I don't know if he'd leave right now.
He's got Champions League. I feel like he'd stick it out. Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers would be a good one if he pulled it off from Leicester.
That's got to be.
I don't like. Yeah, I can see him leave. I don't like taking a manager that's just failed somewhere to another team in the same division, sort of thing.
There is. I mean, I know that. Speaking to my boss today, is a Chelsea fan. Like one of the things he was genuinely shocked by it as well. But the issue with like Potter coming in there is he is a manager. Ultimately, he's needed time, hasn't he, and space, and not being kind of in them not doing any rash decisions, any rash changes, not even within transfer policy. It's still all been within that, and I think they're a trigger-happy club, and they kind of always have been. Pre-Abramovich, and now probably post-Abramovich. And I just sort of, it seems like one of these moves where this isn't the right. I can get the reasons for going there, but I just don't see it working out. Just because.
Well, it said that Graham Potter, they give him a 5-year contract, and I read a stat earlier. The last
big payout,
the last manager to last exactly 5 years at Chelsea was like in the 70s.
Yeah.
So like 52 years has moved on, and they're just soul trigger happy, aren't they?
The Brighton sort of setup kind of leads you to thinking they'll bring in a manager from like Germany or Austria or somewhere, and like they'll get somewhere that's kind of lower under the radar, sort of like, and bring somebody into. Lallana will steady the ship for a while, and then they'll get the person they want in, sort of thing.
They should have. I mean, it would have been on the cards now for a while, certainly after last season, that if things didn't work out with, say, I don't know, Eddie Howe at Newcastle or something like that, that there's going to be those kind of more attractive job offers that come in. Yeah. And I'd always assumed that Potter would actually end up at Spurs. That seemed
they went for him.
That would be better for him.
I think they spoke to him during when they ended up with Conte, didn't they? So, yeah, you'd have thought they must have had a plan. To know, they must have known that he was going to go at some point. Yeah. So.
They're such a well-run club as well that like they're the kind of club who would keep a rolling shortlist kind of anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's at some point they must have known he was going to get poached away. It's entirely a shock to their system, like, you know what I mean? So it could be that they know someone is going to come available in a few months or something like that, or they're already working on something, and this Lallana thing will literally be a matter of weeks. So
I don't know how long ago it was since Kirbishley was a manager, but that Curbs run at Charlton when they were in the Premier League is embedded in my mind, and it's probably given me like rose-tinted glasses of that sort of era of that run. But because one of my mates from back home was a massive Charlton fan, so he was always up for a massive Kirbishley fan. But I think he had a return run at Charlton, and it didn't go as well.
So he did. His last club managed was West Ham United in 2008.
Yeah, you see, that's too long out of the game. That's 15 years now.
Yeah, that's too long.
It's not going to get up and running, is it?
But it sounds like he's moved beyond it.
Yeah,
like it could be those health scares.
He got paid 2.2 million in like compensation from West Ham, which he'll keep him, but that was like 13 years ago. So like you say, JP, maybe
level.
health complications or just can't be asked anymore.
I mean, what do we see in terms of, is there going to be much tactical change from Chelsea? I mean, and Brighton obviously will be staying pretty much the same. Like at this point.
I can't see that you really try and change that team up because it's doing so well at the moment. Like, you know, you might as well just come in and just kind of keep it going as it is.
That's the problem, isn't it? Like coming in now, like literally the transfer that just closed. Literally, they just signed Aubameyang because he fit that manager. Now, like there's a new manager in who's got no chance to do his own thing or bring his own players in. He's just gonna kind of have to, isn't he? Like I was listening to Scout before, Chris, and as on there as a Brighton fan, and he was saying like just be ready for like Reece James might play up front. That's the type of manager he is. You know, you don't know where people are going to play from one game to the next.
I think
like, it could turn out like that.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Brighton blueprint and then you look at what he could do at Chelsea, you're like Reece James, Chilwell, the lad they actually signed from Cucurella, like, could have massive runs in that team going forward. Be interesting to see what they do with Mount because it feels like he's kind of held back a little bit in that Chelsea midfield. Maybe they will let him go a bit more attacking because you've seen they've been putting Pascal Gross and people in forward positions at Brighton. You could easily get Mount in that sort of position where he's up there, and then it's Sterling as well working from deep. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it all plays out because you could basically run what Brighton do just with a better catalogue of players at Chelsea, and you'd not really be using anyone different.
I think it suits him perfectly. Like it's three at the back. They're all well used to playing three at the back. He does at Brighton. He's never really valued having a centre forward as such, which Chelsea don't have anyway. You know what I mean? So they're almost playing like a 3-6-1, which is kind of what Chelsea play as well. You know what I mean? So I think system wise, he'll just come straight in and start doing the same thing. But from an FPL point of view, I think definitely put Chelsea wing backs on your short list because if he does tighten up the defence and get those guys bombing forward, like in the way that he has Trossard and Estupiñán and who's the guy on the right hand side playing wing back? Is it Solly March or Lamptey? If he gets his wing backs as high up the pitch for Chelsea as he does for Brighton, there's serious potential there, you know.
And another thing from an FPL point of view is just thinking about some of those fringe players as well. That's at Chelsea, just where you've got someone like a Pulisic or a Ziyech or something like that. If you see, you know, people like that who haven't had a sniff, but he might fancy, and they might fit into his system there in the way that like a Trossard or something else.
I think like
goalkeepers would be a big change. Yeah, Loftus-Cheek. Goalkeepers though, Kepa is much better with his feet than Mendy is. And they like to play
in the game?
He's like a 4.4 at the minute. He's a sweeper keeper. He's good with his feet in the same way that Ramsdale replaced Leno at Arsenal. That's how it doesn't matter so much how good they are as shot stoppers, whatever. It matters what they can do with the ball at their feet, so they can play it to the defense. And that could be a switch where you see Kepa get back in over Mendy. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to give it a little bit of time, but that wouldn't surprise me because one of the reasons Sanchez got in at Brighton is because he's a good ball player with his feet. He's a very good goalkeeper as well, but he got in because he plays well with his feet. So that could be one to monitor. One thing I did just notice, and I probably won't mean much to anyone, but one of the leading guys to get the Brighton job is Kjetil Knutsen, who is the manager of Bodo Glimt, who is like a big team in Norway. Like they've had a massive resurgence over the last couple of years, all because of this manager. That's the sort of manager that I was thinking when I was saying like that underlying German-Austrian sort of manager. He'd be a similar sort of guy.
I'm off to see Arsenal Bodo Glimt 6th of October because they're in our group. Europa League, so I was going to go with that.
Bodo is it's an interesting one. One of the bookies people that I follow, betting people. That was his big team for a while when they were on their hot run. We used to make a lot of money off of them. So it'd be interesting if he got the job full time. So.
Yeah, it's going to be massive FPL implications, I think, going forward. But I suppose we're going to have lots of time to think about it and figure out what we're going to do. As many people got many Chelsea players? Like I've got Reece James. Anyone got anyone else?
Just Reece James.
I didn't have anyone.
Yeah. In the draft, in the draft, I've got Havertz and Jorginho, I think.
Oh yeah, Aubameyang will be coming up in the draft, won't he?
I will be.
What was that?
I've Azpilicueta in the draft, but as like most of my draft teams, just not playing. Apart from the week where I played Gareth and inexplicably won.
Did us all a favour.
I just think from an FPL point
You
of
were
view,
thinking on an unbeatable year there, mate, weren't you? You
yeah,
like,
you blew it. The Invincibles, you ruined it. Unbelievable. But I almost think like the Brighton fact is the more interesting one from an FPL point of view than the Chelsea one, because obviously the start Brighton have had, like a lot of people have, started to get those assets in, and people have started to when you've looked at the value for money that you're getting out of like a McAllister, or you're getting out of a Trossard, or so even like the lads playing more at the back and things. Like they just sort of feel like they're one of them go-to teams that people have been, okay, I'm downgrading some in here, I can throw a Brighton lad in, and that just gives me a bit of value. But again, you're totally up in the air. The system could change. They could just react totally different to a new manager. Suddenly there, you've maybe gone and said, right, I'm whacking Gross in and I'm racking Trossard in or something like that. You've made those changes already. Who knows? It might not even, it's something where you've made a change based on, 6 weeks of football, and that's out of the fucking window now, isn't it? It's totally different. So who knows?
That's how I've been feeling, because I brought Gross was one of my transfers in this week. Brought him in, they scored a million goals. He gets 1 assist, and then now it's like it was already looking bad because he had a blank game week coming up next week, and now there's all this as well. It's just great. Perfect time to bring in Brighton players. A lot of people be in that situation, goalie.
They look so good in that game as well, though. So I can imagine people making early transfers and getting more Brighton players in, and then obviously the strike knocks off the weakest rivalry game that there is in the Premier League, and then
I'm glad you said that. It's just like geographically.
Does anyone know what it's about?
If your rivalry game is named after the road that leads between the two places, it's not a real rivalry, is it? It's like, it's the A35 derby.
I can introduce you to one here because it's the A420 derby between Oxford and Swindon, where they inexplicably hate it. And in the 15 years I've been living here, 18 years, no fuckers given me a decent answer. No one, other than they're close by, and Wickham and Northampton weren't really. I don't know, inexplicably we thought we'd leave them alone.
It's like you get into the end of the night at a nightclub and you're looking around for someone to match up with, and you're like, well, fuck, Crystal Palace are left, I'll go with them. You can have Swindon, and then that'll be it.
Let's fight them.
Gareth, what's the Carlisle Barrow derby called? Because they're a bit far.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that's ever been considered a derby, particularly because like Barrow have been out of the league so long. Like Barrow were in Workington's league for probably more years, and obviously Barrow's only come back into the league. Weirdly, like when Carlisle was in the league, Carlisle before like Barrow got in the league and things, Carlisle would have like derbies or the rivalries with people over in the northeast, so like your Hartlepools and your Darlows and things, or it'd be like people like Preston, and it's just because you're just so marooned in the middle of nowhere that you've just got to like pick a team an hour and a half away.
Nearest railway station, innit, basically.
It's one of them. Just like geographically, the rivalry should be more like Berwick, more like Queen of the South, or like Stranraer or something like that. Those are the ones that like geographically close.
It's like for a brief time, Blackburn's big rivalry was Man United for like 3 years when they were like the top end of the. And you go onto Football Manager.
I think it was 1 year. Wasn't
it? Well, a couple of years we had a run there. But like you go onto Football Manager and it will still say like Blackburn's rivals. And it will be like Preston, Blackpool, whatever. And then it'll go Manchester United. And you're like, I mean, I don't think that's really been a thing for a long time at this point. But yeah.
It's one of them. You're thinking about Man United, then I'm thinking about you.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think any Man United fans ever gone, I can't wait to play Blackburn again.
When putting my sons into Football Manager a good few years ago when they were little, and I put them in there, a Swansea manager, I just made sure they hated every side I hated at that point in time, so they just never want to leave. The only acceptable answer was Arsenal, Swansea, and Waterford. Like that was it. So that was so they just loved them to the absolute hill. Love that shit, that editor on that.
Definitely got some new people in the chat today. Anyway, sorry, Chris.
Here's a random aside. Just probably mainly for Gareth, but before tonight's Rams versus Bills game, the NFL will have a moment of silence to recognise the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. So the Yanks still love.
When's the NFL season
They
start?
fought a whole revolution over this. NFL
This
is tonight.
weekend.
First game's tonight.
Sound I like NFL now. It's better than watching anything going on. Fucking, I'm getting into
That's
it.
it.
Is the fantasy closed?
Mate, there's always Pinocchio on Disney Plus. Come on. Which
Do you reckon
James
Tony Khan will give her a 10-bell salute?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
People Club is based in London.
I mean, he is very West London, isn't he? So
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a GRAPPL NFL next week. Gareth and Chris can lead it. There you go. So that'll fill our content.
I was already tapping into him for a bit of advice this week, pre-draft, just to see.
That's the proper fantasy.
Yeah.
Well,
Derrick Henry, anyway. That's who I ended up with, Chris. 4th pick.
Oh, that's not a bad shout. That's all right. Did it?
Well,
Was it
third pick.
already? Was it
I
running
could
back
have
one, two,
had Dalvin Cook, but I left him. I left him alone. I thought I don't want to jinx my own players here.
That's fair.
well, to have a look at the, we might as well while it's still fresh because it's not going to matter quite soon. We'll have a look at our Gameweek 6 for the last week, and obviously we've got the main GRAPPL League, which we'll go through at the end of the day. But we have now got our GRAPPL FPL Club mini league, which is us lot and the other people who I'd expect you'll see from
I'm
time
not even
to time
bottom.
on this very things. Yeah, Martin is unfortunately still rock bottom. Will not far above him, but I was going to say we'll go through the teams. We can either go through an order of who had the best week to who had the worst week, but I just think it'd be more fun to have a look at who had the worst week first. I'll look at Gareth. We'll do that. Purely because the main talking point from this week, I think, is reflected in Gareth's team. That's all there is, Gareth. Nothing personal, but we've got to do it in some order. So we'll do you first, mate. It wasn't the best week, and yeah, your captain might be the big talking point for this week. But yeah, hi mate, welcome back.
Well, there's a few things going on here. I think thing number one that's going on here was as I was sat in that game the week before watching Haaland smashing his hat trick and just been like, I know I said I'm not going to have him in my team and I'm just going to fucking work around it and use the money more intelligently, and then just like ending just going like, I've just got to have him in my team, haven't I? I'm just a hostage to needing to have him in my team because everyone else has got to have him. So making the decision during the game to put him in, taking the -4 to put him in, taking out Tony, who obviously smashed in a hat-trick of his own this week. So that was dumb move number one this week altogether. Dumb move number two was obviously sticking with Mo Salah and just thinking, it's the derby, he's got to perform, he's got to finally like show up. But like in the same way it was talking about Son in previous weeks about him playing deeper and playing wider, Salah seems to have been struck by the same curse as well. Like he doesn't seem to be getting him a sniff of the penalty area. Everything that he's doing is just all wide there. So this is the interesting one for me with the Queen croaking it, is that like with the games like
that's the polite way of putting it. She's like, you know, when people leave the Premier League and they're still in the game until you transfer
now
them
on loan.
Yeah.
But obviously, like for me, I was like, right, well, this Wolves game is like last chance saloon in my head kind of thing. It was like home to Wolves, you know. If we're 7 weeks in and he's still not performing, I think I said in our chat he's had like 6 goals in his last 17 league games. When you drag things into the end of last season, if he doesn't perform against Wolves, that was it. He's off. But obviously, if that game's out of the window, then like, I don't know. What do you do like now? Because Liverpool's next games after that, if the Wolves game's gone, they're getting into like trickier territory, you know. And he's got games there that are going to be tighter. Or if Liverpool keep going the way they are, they're going to be getting beat. However, you might look at it and go, this break could be great for Liverpool. Joel Matip gets back in there at the back. Like Thiago comes back in midfield. They sort themselves out to be like the balanced side. So I don't know. It just feels totally up in the air completely there with Salah from that point of view. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Just on the fixtures, if this game week's cancelled, obviously it's Wolves at home. The next one's cancelled, it's Chelsea away, which would then mean their first game back would be Brighton at home against new manager Brighton, Lallana. So Lallana will obviously throw it for you. And then it's Arsenal and Man City, and then West Ham. So, yeah, like you say, the Liverpool run after this expected 2-week break isn't the best sort of thing to be trying to lean on Liverpool assets.
I mean, the flip side of it is that, like, you look at things, and I think going into the weekend, Salah was still the second highest scorer in midfielder, and you're like, like that Brighton game threw a couple of lads above him, like McAllister and Gross. I think, but so he's still up there, but it's just the whole 13 million, isn't it, to be getting points returns that you could be getting off similar lads, and especially when you look at things like that. There, if you've got 13 million and he's got 6 in 17, and Alan's got 6 in bloody, 180 minutes. Like, kind of thing. That's where the trade-off starts to come. And is he actually worth the amount of? Is he going to generate the same amount of goals and assists now in the remaining games of the season to warrant such a high cash value? And it's starting to feel like no is the answer to that one.
It's a bigger version of that argument kind of I was making about, it was a bad argument, but about Trent a couple of weeks ago. It was like, in theory, I was like, I could do something with that couple of million. And and I say to you guys, want to catch it at the point where Liverpool aren't looking great. And, maybe I'll bring him back and get the bulk of his points for the rest of the season. Just thinking, Chris, I think with Salah, that like Gareth said there, it makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Just think of the things you can do with that money. Like I almost feel like I've been cheering along him to have a bad season, because it's like, well, imagine if Darwin becomes the Liverpool player everyone wants, or Jota, or somebody at that price range. Like as soon as you make that switch, you can pretty much do anything else you like with the money, can't you, Chris?
Yeah, it was Gareth's early point a couple of weeks ago where it's price per point per price, or whichever way you want to word it. Salah's benefit comes from the fact that you captain him, so he gets double the amount of points that you would normally do. But now that Haaland is almost the most likely captain every week, it really negates the need for Salah, because his points can be duplicated by Diaz, it seems, at the moment, and then probably Trent and Robertson. And then you're going to get as many points from that trio than you would do from Salah being captain. And then you've probably got a little bit more cash to spread around the team elsewhere. And that's kind of where you lean. I can see why more people are beginning to move away from Salah. The wild card season.
The wild thing with Salah, though, is this the thing that I can't get away from in my head is this idea that having Salah and having Captain Salah, if he comes back into form, could end up being a massive differential. And the idea of being able to have Captain Salah as a differential just seems fucking ridiculous, given that he's been everyone's, it was basically Salah's took the captaincy choice out of the equation for the last 2 years, hasn't he, really? Because everyone's just everyone's just had him. The other thing with Salah is that the price point he is, I keep thinking, once he's gone, it's a fucking hard work to get him back in your team, isn't it? Because if you take 30 million out and you spread that over 3 players, suddenly you're looking at Salah, it's fire, and it's like, all right, I need him back in. And then you're like, fuck, I need to make 4 changes here to get him back, sort of thing. So it's to me, it feels like it's going to be the biggest make or break decision, I think, that I'll probably make this season. Because while I'm panicking a bit at how little points I've got so far, there's still plenty of game weeks in the bag. But if I just get that right, it'll be sound. But the rest of the lads there, it was just like, I don't know, it's Saka,
just quickly, sorry, before the rest of the team, just one quick note on Salah. Don't know if you can make that out, but as far as price changes go on FPL statistics, 98% of the way there as far as going down tonight. That's going to be the other thing, isn't it? If we have this long period where there's no games, what's he going to be by the end of this period? Like, it could be 12, unless they freeze prices. It could be 12.8, couldn't he? 12.5, couldn't he? Because a lot of people have got him, and a lot of people
money,
like we are.
Could be a really interesting point where Haaland's gone so far up that he overtakes Salah on the way down, which, give that a month or so, it could easily happen. Haaland's already gone up 0.5, hasn't he? So,
That's it. Sorry,
with the rest of the lads there, obviously I took the -4. So Zaha was the -4 to free up the cash for Haaland. So effectively, Zaha got me -1 point. So that's another reason for the crap week. I think, did Martinelli score and Saka assist, or vice versa, and he got disallowed by fucking VAR? Or otherwise, that would have been a nice little double.
Martinelli
shouldn't have been knocked out for me. I thought that Odegaard tackle was fine.
Defenders aren't performing. Your big hitting defenders aren't performing a lot of weeks. Where again, you've got that money tied up there. Who'd have thought Nathan Patterson against Liverpool.
Big
The
six.
defender I should have played. You're just like. So yeah, all in all, I think my week reflects my season so far. I've never started a season so badly and been so depressed about my start, but we'll see. I've got over it a bit. I was all for fucking packing in a week ago, but I'm motivated. I'm motivated again now. I'm Rocky Balboa. Come on, let's go to work.
I've got a weird relationship with this because, like, I don't want you to do well. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want you to do so bad that you stop. So it's like I'm like, come on, Gareth, I'm cheering you on for the next few. I don't know if that's just like like patting you on the head, but like, I don't want you to leave.
I'll never stop, but what I'll start to do is do fucking crazy, stupid stuff to try and claw back points. That's what I'll do, which has worked in the past for me. Like I remember making up 100 points in 3 weeks in the last 3 weeks of the season to like win a work league once, which now in my head makes me think, yeah, I can take these wild -12s if I want to and make up fucking 70 points on people. But who knows? Yeah, we'll have a bit of a laugh with it, but it's I'm not laughing now.
Well, just ahead of you for the week, but not by much. I think that it's that
1 whole point
as well. Yeah, kind of killed you there, Gareth, on a 35 with a -4. Bit more than that though, Chris. 36. Lofty heights.
That's it.
Another selling captain.
Yeah, I mean, my only other option really was Jesus. So, I mean, I chose the right one out of those two, I suppose, because I'd have never. More than half, no, almost half of my points came from Tony's hat trick, which shows you the benefit of having somebody that takes penalties and free kicks, sort of thing, in your team. If you can get that sort of thing, which is obviously one of the things that Tony offers. Everybody else just didn't really deliver. All your big trademark defenders, Trent, Cancelo, James, poor scores. What was supposed to be under the radar. Pick for the defence, Estupiñán, then became everybody's pick when FPL mate and Andy and everybody else jumped on him. He didn't start the game. He came on with about 10 minutes to go, I think. So just got the 1 point.
Realise that.
Yeah. He played 1 minute. There you go.
1 minute, 1 point.
Well worth it, yeah.
IWC in the mud.
Perisic didn't play. I left him on the bench because I didn't think he would play. I think he came on.
Play more minutes.
6 minutes. There you go. So you're not getting much of a chance there. Kuleweski didn't start. He came off the bench as well. Richarlison started. Gundogan did play the whole game but didn't do anything. Martinelli, as we said, should have had the assist but didn't. Jesus, I think, did he not have something disallowed as well? I can't remember. But it wasn't a good week anywhere, really. And then Stansfield's off my bench has now gone to Exeter because why not? I mean, that's where he. I mean,
he'll run that city, will Elbaro, won't he?
There is a story behind it. Is
Exeter, I don't know what's it.
His dad used to play for Exeter, and they retired his number, and he's now gone back. The son's now gone to Exeter, and they've unretired the number so that he can play in it. So it's quite a nice story, but also
he could be Geordie Cruyff.
He could have been on my bench. So that's something.
What's he cost you, Chris?
He's only like a 4.5, but he did get.
Worry is if he goes down in it now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it later on, but he's part of my plan moving forward of a couple of transfers, so I'll get that sorted out.
Did you reference the? Because I've just suddenly remembered I didn't reference the Alexander-Arnold factor as well. Of getting substituted after 58.
Fucking clap.
Him and Robbo, both of them, both off before the clean sheet points.
Like, first clean sheet of the season.
All right.
That was
my first instinct was I thought you don't deserve to win for that.
Would it make the game better or worse if they because I've always thought, not just because of this week, because I've got Trent too, but should it not be 3 points for the first 45 minutes, 3 points for the second 45, something like that? Would that
I think especially now there's 5 substitutes. It could be better work sort of thing because you are now seeing players like Robertson coming off earlier with regularity sort of thing. So I could see if they played a whole half, then maybe you get 3 points if it's a clean sheet or whatever.
From a dramatic perspective, though, it makes it kind of exciting in the way that VAR kind of robs us of so much of that kind of natural drama. So you get the fix wherever you can. When Nathan Collins in my draft team is getting a 16 minutes, I'm like, oh, that's just a big thumbs up all round. That's just good for everyone. I don't know if anyone else thinks like this. Yeah, but I mean, it's only joined in with the fact that that everyone else has Trent, so we can all you can have a little giggle at that expense.
Well, up next, Mr. Chips. Didn't you? Oh, he did use chips. He used to. I was going to say he didn't use any. He didn't use any chips though.
Yeah, no, it was
55. Better than them two, though, Andy.
Yeah, no, I had a very good week for a change. So I put Raya in instead of Edison, and well, they both got the same points. That was sort of a gamble I thought I'd take because Brentford had the easier game on paper. Alexander Arnold, once I read that, he'd done 58 minutes and you only get 1 point, like, you bastard. Nico Williams, first time off the bench this season for me. Happy with the 4 points. They got, they won, didn't they? Forest.
No, they lost. They lost
3-2. Yeah, they lost 3-2, sorry. But nice to see he got an assist. I'm going to keep him in for whenever, like, the FPL returns. Lewis Dunk, he's been shite, hasn't he, since I put him in. 1 point and -1 equals 0. Reece James.
Andy, who did you make your hits for? You -8. You got to make 3 transfers.
So I took Salah. Did I take Salah out? No, I put I think Lucas Paqueta I put in, and bloody Perisic.
Harrison and Perisic. Oh, and Dunk as well. So you brought Dunk in and got you 1 point.
No, so I took Al Koulibaly. Rodrigo and Odegaard were the ones. I took.
You went mad on the 30th of August, Andy.
No.
you did Gameweek 5 Gameweek transfers.
Yeah, that was that Tuesday. That Tuesday evening.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My favourite bit is Koulibaly in 14:08. Koulibaly out at 21:20.
That's some Jesus Hill style behaviour.
Did you just not want those 4 points?
No. I think Chelsea had a stinker against Southampton that evening, and then I thought, Perisic, stick him in, and then when the team news come through on Saturday that he wasn't in the team, I was quickly like, get him on the bench for. So I can stick someone else in.
Oh, I see. So their game week. Sorry, I've only just worked that out. So yeah, their game week 5 transfers, and then the top 3 of the game week 6 transfers.
Yeah,
it's all on the same day. Okay.
Yeah,
that's not so bad then.
So them game week 6 transfers. So Rodrigo's obviously out for 4 weeks. Odegaard got injured, so I had to do a bit of switching around. Martinelli, he's going to be in there all the time for me.
Jack Harris changing fixtures. I'm a little bit worried about Arsenal going forward. I don't know if anyone else is looking at the Arsenal attack and thinking, or maybe even defensive players. Let's stick around, JP.
I mean, as the resident Arsenal defender on this, I don't know. I'm still relatively bullish about Arsenal. Just having watched the Man U game, I mean, we have a habit, as Jamesy well knows, of somehow losing to Man U. They could be at their worst possible ebb, and we'll go there and we will just say, come on, get 3 points. We'll be back on track after this. And there was things in that game to kind of get, like, obviously upset about, like the VAR decision and the rest of it, and the daft substitution. I think there's things about Arsenal with this extra break now in the middle where there was a lot of knocks going on around the squad, and it's still a very small squad. There's a reason why that Douglas Luiz deal not going through on the transfer deadline day was somewhat of a blow, because I thought they were light in that position anyway. And they'd kind of loaned out everybody else, so even like a Maitland-Niles isn't around to kind of fill in positions and whatnot. So that extra week and that little bit of rest will help them, because, I mean, even like Xhaka and Martinelli play today, but I'd fully expect them to play next week. Smith Rowe's kind of still out. I'm still quietly bullish that they're going to get it back on track in these next few games. I mean, Brentford away is going to be a real will be the kind of deciding factor. And I think if they get, having lost against Man U, not unbeaten, but if they can put those performances together, I still think they're worth sticking with, because there's a place.
City though in that run. If they happen, well,
you'd be surprised with Arsenal though. Yeah. This is what they'll do: is they'll go on these there's more within them to go. I know I'm just an Arsenal fan, aren't I? I'm obviously going to be hopeful that they fucking win on that front. In terms of Martinelli though, it's not Arsenal defenders; they're the ones I've not got in my side, because there's goals being conceded.
Yeah,
there is goals for them to score, and I think it's going to be the case where I'd fancy them to score against Liverpool. I'd fancy them to score against Spurs. I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility. It's Arsenal defenders. It's whether or not Zinchenko is that worthwhile, and he'll be back playing now, because that is an extra week's break for him as well, as much as anything. So I do think in that sense, if you've got Gabriel, if you've got Saliba, I wouldn't be wanting to have them in there, but certainly I'd think Martinelli just still being the best value. And maybe Saka has kind of played himself into, he scored at least at the weekend. That's one of the few bright spots. And maybe he's playing himself back into a bit more form.
Yeah. With Jesus, he's gone down like 0.1 in the prices, which I was surprised at.
Yeah,
8.1 now, isn't it?
But I think your team overall, though, Andy, De Bruyne, Tony, Haaland all came in for you. You're the first one of us to get the captain right so far.
Yeah, I was happy with. Well, Harrison I've now taken out for me, which was for me one transfer for this week, which was for Rashford United. De Bruyne, I was happy I got a return off him after that, where Pep put him on the bench against Forest. The Ivan Toney one, when I was going on the train down to Cardiff with RGF, he took Toney out. He was saying he's had a 1 point return and a 2 point return. And I was like, Brentford, the amount of chances that they create, they've not been scoring, but they're always in attacking positions. And when he got the hat-trick in on Saturday, RGF was like, fucking Ivan Toney, the bastard.
I was tempted to get rid of myself. Like I got it wasn't like some genius masterstroke keeping him in this week. There was a version of my transfers that would have shipped him out. I was really glad I didn't hit the button on that. But,
Jeff got to see Drew McIntyre anyway, so he did all right out of it.
Just looking at your team. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, just looking at Andy's team, like two of your transfers that you took your -8 for, Perisic and Paqueta, just played on your bench anyway. So
yeah, but they were for two injured players, Rodrigo and
yeah, but you could have made them this week and then not taken the -8.
Well, yeah, I've still got more points.
We're getting there. Only one transfer this week, Andy. You're listening.
I am listening. But who else did I have? Earl King Ireland. What a man.
Yeah.
But everyone's got him. But it's just great when he scores. Perisic. Yeah, I'm gonna keep him for a few weeks now. Paqueta, hopefully when he does get more game time, he will be one of the main players for West Ham. So, and Andres in there.
Investment. Yeah. Like I say, you've still got 55 points. You've still got it's above the average, which is 45. Even if you knock off the -8, you still.
Well, I'm sort of back to me like the game week ranking that I got into like week 1 and week 2. So it's doing all right. I'm happy. I'm much happier this week. Yeah,
I think it's a really good team now, Andy, because you're like, I'm thinking about wild carding in a couple of weeks' time, and a lot of what you have now is what I'm thinking about on the if you're saying you've taken Harrison out for Rashford, that's a really good front six now that you have like that. That's the kind of front six you could leave alone now.
Yeah,
please leave alone. Don't take any more -8. The computer. Your team is good now, okay? Because even your subs, like if most weeks you're starting Perisic and Paqueta. Like Paqueta is a great pick because West Ham's fixtures get really, really good in the next couple of weeks, and they have a long, long run of pretty good games as far as I remember. Look at that. Pretty much from game week 8. So, like, if you can just give these guys a 4 or 5 week chance, I think you'll do well. I think you're set up, like you've no Salah. You've had the balls to go and do that. And I think that's a move we're all going to have to think about. Like loads of people are going to do wild card in game week 8 and 9 now. And the biggest decision those people will have is, do I stick with Salah or not? Because like that makes a massive difference to your team. And if you have the balls to go for it, it could be a huge swing leg to get you other people in your team, you know?
I think what made me change my mind about Salah was I watching Sky Sports News, and you know how they have all the points down the right-hand side about how many. And I seen like Kevin De Bruyne at 27 and like Salah had got like 25. And like, ooh, you know what? I could save like a million here and use it on a couple of the other players. And luckily, it's worked out okay at the moment. I know Salah in midweek against Napoli yesterday went missing again. But yeah, no, I'm happy going into what game we do end up on.
I'm a little above you, but only on a technicality due to the minus point you took. But yeah, for me, 49 for the week isn't much to say on my team really. I made the 2 transfers in that I brought in Reece James and Pascal Gross. Gross was in for Gundogan, so up 3 points. I'll take that. Can't pretend I'm not bitterly disappointed that I got home from, I can't remember what I was doing on the day. Saw the scoreline 5-2, and I was like, oh, that'll be a good week for our Pascal. Nope, 5 points. Devastated. Probably could have gone the other way, maybe a Trossard, something like that. Was probably the better shout from Brighton. And now I'm kind of stuck with them with a definite blank this week coming up, and definite blank the week after. I think it's going to be for Gross. So yeah, that's going to be an issue. Reece James, like I said, I brought him in for Perisic, so I'm all right with that. They both got 1 point in the end, so I wasn't up, but it was more the fact that I didn't fancy Perisic's fixtures coming up, obviously with the City game, and thought, well, I can get him back at some point later. So we'll see how that pays off. But yeah, other than that, story of my game week's very similar to everyone else. Nico Williams got a rare start for me and got me bagged me the 4 points. James Toney saved the game week to that, Jimmy. I don't know why that's stuck. Big Tone, I'll call him that instead. Big Tone. That was one move. Like I said to use in the group chat, like I wasn't brave enough / stupid enough to do it, but I fancied Sterling this week, and the only way I could get him was to bin off Salah. And I could have been ahead of the curve in doing that. It wouldn't have really paid off particularly well, because the two for thing I was going to do was Salah to Sterling, and Tony was gonna leave me team, and in was going to come Darwin Núñez, who did end up, getting way more minutes than anybody expected, which was the thing that put me off. But if I made that move, I'd be crying right now, because I think he got 2 points and Tony got 17. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't make that move, but I think I still might have been ahead of the curve with the Salah one. That's definitely one I'm thinking of doing going forward. As far as captaincy goes, I kind of went against what I said last week. I wish I'd stuck to my guns and gone with Haaland. But I was saying on the day, wasn't it, James? It was like you were filling me in on the scores as they went on. I wasn't watching the City game. I was watching, I think Clash of the Castle was on, wasn't it, during that? And it was horrible. I wouldn't want to go through it again this season. Like not captain Haaland. Like it's just because it's that thing, isn't it? I've got him, but I haven't captained him. So anything he does, everyone else is going to get doubled, and it's just that fear that he could at any time score 4 goals and 9 points. I got away with one. I really did. Like if you look at it, really, it's a 6-point swing at the end of the day. Like captain and Salah, who only got me 3 points. Double that to 6. I've still got both of the players. I think, you do the math, it ends up a 6-point difference. It could have easily been a 16-point difference or a 20-point difference. So, I think I got away with one there.
You did for that.
But yeah, that's it. Really, that's the story of my team, really. And yeah, like I said, going forward, think transfer wise, not 100% sure what I'll do with obviously all the rumors in the air. Thinking of holding, but we can get into that when we get there as far as future plans. But getting near the top of the league, nosebleed section.
Sorry, Benny. I was just going to say, you're going to stick with your 3 striker thing then, because I think I was saying a couple of weeks ago, you've always been a bit like me, not wanting to do the 3 striker thing, not seeing the value there, as the shift from Salah to Haaland has been the big dog. Major sort of like place more value up front. Do you reckon there? You'll stay, keep 3 strikers.
I'm glad you said it, because if anything, like, I want another strikers plot. Because like I want Mitrovic. Yeah, I want Mitrovic, and I
Where's the all-out attack chip now, that you were deriding?
Yes, we need an proper all-out attack with we can play 5 strikers. Yeah, Mitrovic is like obviously the one I got my eye on as far as taking over up the season. We've all got that. So I think everyone's got that plan in their head. Well, Tony's fixtures are about to turn, so we'll all get Mitro in. But Tony could be just the same, couldn't he? If he bangs like this every 2 weeks, like he's not going to get 17 points a lot, but he's still going to do well. I don't necessarily want to get rid of him. Jesus, if anything, might be the one that goes, but that feels dangerous. And like on top of that, we're talking about the Liverpool structure. If we are all being an off Salah, it might turn out that Darwin Núñez ends up being the man everyone wants. Who's he come in for? So yeah, I'm complete reversal on what I thought it'd be at the start of the season, because it's feeling like it's nothing like the end of last season when the striker spot was if anything a waste, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you've been off Salah, you can afford Kane as your third striker. So you could have Jesus, Haaland, and Kane as your 3 strikers. So it's like spinning off Salah means you could literally have pretty much any team you want. Like, it really does open up so many possibilities.
Definitely, but yeah, it's different. It's really different season. It's one of those things, and we do it every year with FPL. You look at what happened last season and think, "Oh, I'll apply that this year," and then it never works, does it? It's always
different game.
Things are different, Wing back become a thing, strikers stop becoming a thing or become a thing again. It's kind of how it goes. But yeah, give us some advice, JP. You're the almost the king of this game week. There, 56 points, mate. Second in the GRAPPL League, in the GRAPPL FPL League, flying in the proper GRAPPL League.
Sixth
all going well for you right now.
I'm in Jamesy territory, Jamesy Jordan territory, and it feels scary. I won't. You just think
just the Irish taking over again, JP.
Really are, right? We really have. Me, like the proper traitor as well, being born in here. But the thing I found for this week is I thought, I just, in terms of what I'm trying to do, is I actually didn't start Nico Williams. I started St. Maximin instead. Just thinking to myself, it was a calculated risk that if he did play, I would have fancied him against Palace. Now it kind of obviously worked out as a 0-0, but I think it's the value of having at least your first 2 subs, as in my case, have generally been Andreas and Nico Williams. And when Andreas pointed, it was when somebody else had gone out and taken a knock. So I think there is the value. You're talking about Stansfield of really, I don't think we're far off the point where, if you're taking a punt on, obviously, City, any of the sort of top 4 or 5 teams, there is going to be rotation over these next few weeks with the fixture congestion pile up. And I think that's where the value of the bench is really going to come into effect, I think, as much as anything. So I've kind of done all right with those. I've left myself like $500,000 because I think, like, taking away a lot of my side is based around the idea of it's trying to moneyball it. Just a bit in the sense of like, you're trying to almost take a load of other people's like ideas and merge them into one, so you're kind of getting the best of it. And I'd stuck with Tony for the week because I'm determined to try and do the anti-Andy and try and hold on to a couple of hold on to a couple of transfers. So I've not made I didn't want to make one this week, to be honest with you. I was thinking to myself I wasn't going to do it because I generally like the shape of that team. Because if somebody doesn't play, if Haaland doesn't play next week, then at least I know that St. Maximin or Andreas or like Nico Williams will actually step in there. Transfer wise for the future, I got it right with the Haaland thing. You've all said it so far, much better than I can. I'm thinking I am binning off Salah. That was going to be the next one because I just thought to myself, he's not going to be worth it if he's just my vice captain. And like he just isn't working for the kind of points per game. Gareth mentioned about 6 goals and 17. You're thinking about where you can get that value for money, and also what I can do with my defence long term to get Cancelo in there as well at the same time. So I'm just thinking the upgrade that he offers me for large swathes of that team. But yeah, I think I've been generally happy with this start. I'm overtaking the brother on there as well. That's the big one.
In the world.
That Houlihan family one is like, that's where the serious shit is. The sister doesn't care too much. But
it's
the fact that my son is catching my brother now at this point. He wasn't happy about it. He's off to the States for he's actually on holiday for a couple of weeks, not to avoid this, but you could tell he wasn't happy, and it was like, good. It's just like the pool, mate. I'll beat you. Simple as that.
God,
But yeah.
at the start of the season, you were looking like very much the Giannetti of the family. Old Pat was running away with things there, but pulling it back.
Always been the Michaels, mate. No, actually, in more ways than one. Really. But I've a way to catch Jamesy.
I know. I was going to say Jamesy, though. Yeah, not a great week, but you're still hanging on, mate. No. Still top of the pile with us, lot. Well, 42 points, 1 transfer made. What's your story?
Yeah, like it's one of those weeks where, like, I've had pretty much so far. I've been happy with my week every week, and this was the first week where things went badly wrong. But looking around all the leagues I'm in, looking around all you guys, we all had. It's one of those weeks where everybody had a bad week. You know what I mean? Like all the big defensive assets blanks. Like look at my team there. Like Alexander 1, Perisic 1, Cancelo 2, James 1.
Hero trip, yeah.
But like I suppose, like my part of my plan this season has been to be really safe for the first kind of 8 weeks and just stay with the pack, not make any mistakes, don't fall behind, and it's worked out pretty well so far because like when a lot of my players blank, they're players a lot of people have anyway, so nobody's getting a great jump on me unless they have some kind of crazy differential, you know. And like Trippier, as you said there, Benno, Trippier has just been fantastic. Like the great thing about Trippier is he's not. I expected him to be a guy who wouldn't keep clean sheets, but would be getting quite a few assists and goals. But the great thing about him is he's had, I think, 3 weeks there where he's kept a clean sheet, and every time he keeps a clean sheet, he gets either 2 or 3 bonus points. So like 8 points there. Like he was basically my only differential in the team this week. But a nice a 0-0 draw, an uneventful game, and he comes out of it with 8 points. He's been I've had him since week 1. He's been a brilliant asset, and now Newcastle's fixtures are actually turning for the better even. So like he's not going. He's not going anywhere out of my team for a long time now. Like and if I do wild card, he's staying straight in there. You know. Look at that.
The only red fixture, like coming up, United, and even that, you're like, I mean, it's not that bad, is it?
No,
it's like
exactly.
It's worthy of bright red.
They're well worth getting on, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like he's a pick I'm really happy with.
The fixture-wise, they're the 4th best over the next 6. If the next 2 games don't get played, they're the 5th best over those 4 from 9 to 12. So definitely
by
the
all
top
accounts
end of the scale.
It was quite. It was quite. They had so many chances against Palace that they didn't end up converting in some ways. But you think it is going to click at some point up front, whether or not it's when they get Isak and Wilson together at some point. If that ends up clicking, but just the overall, you know. You look at Trippier, he's like you say, he's on free kick duty. I need to get him in there now. I'm just reminded by not having him in. It's slightly annoying.
That was my transfer this week, was putting Trippier back in because I took him out to put Perisic in the week before, and I was just like, just got to get back in. When I said about like just looking at it and just thinking, it's fucking all over already. It was when I was looking at James's team. I was like, how the fuck do you catch this team? I was like, he's got Haaland, he's got Jesus, he's got Salah, he's got Martinelli. You know, Arnold, Cancelo, James. I was like, there just isn't a differential out there to catch that. It's going to take something absolutely wild to claw something back, and the odds on getting that correct are so fucking minute. Like, I think your team is so set up here, Jamesy, and where you haven't used a lot of transfers, you've got to like the value in there. Like, I think you're well on for it. If you keep your head, you could have a fucking mega season this season.
Where are you overall at this point?
Just look at it.
You have it there, Ben.
150,000.
150, yeah.
Bloody hell.
Oof.
It's not bad, is it?
It's just, I've
that
just been
Ireland
trying to...
league you're in there. Jeez, look at that.
There's a surprising amount of FPL content creators from Ireland. Like even FPL Andy, even though he's an English guy, he lives in Ireland. Sort of thing.
I think FPL General is Irish. I
think it's a stacked league towards the top.
But happy enough, and like the rest of the front 5 are they did nothing really. But again, they're players everybody has, so there's no great loss there. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about. Just keep playing it nice and safe at the start. I like you said, Garrett. Like I when I look at that team, I like it, and my dilemma now is: do I just hold off on the wild card, or do I if the next 2 weeks don't happen? the plan I always had in my head was the international break is between 8 and 9. So do my wild card in 9. Gives me 2 weeks to kind of think about everything. Gives players a chance to come back from injuries, that kind of thing. Like, but
and you could do something where like week 13 or 14, when there's only a couple of weeks left before the World Cup, you could really go like crazy, try and get a couple of differentials in there or something, and then just really go and attack that sort of that 2 week period, because then you know that you can transfer out of it if it doesn't work.
If it's not going well,
it's like a free hit, isn't it?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Could I just keep it and use it towards the end as a bit of a free hit, like, or something like that? I don't know. But like, also there are players I want. Like Ramsdale has been okay, but he's not getting the bonus points he was getting last season. He was cleaning up on save points and bonus points and that kind of thing. I'd really like to put Nick Pope in there instead of him if I could.
He's my choice, I think.
Yeah, I think he's the best keeper in the game at the moment. I think for value for money, for like he's a monster for bonus points. He seems to make lots and lots of saves for Newcastle, but not big chances. So like he can make 10 saves in the game, but they're easy saves, and that's 3 extra points straight away. Even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he's got 4 or 5 points. Rashford, Jesus, I'd love to get Rashford in there.
Yeah. Just on the Pope thing, Newcastle are under the cosh so much, but they sit so deep that a lot of the shots come from deep. So it's just a lot of easy saves, or like low XG shots, basically. Would be the way you say it, JP.
Look at
that the fixtures are.
But yeah, it's just like the fixture swing's coming really good for them, because I'm looking at moving Edison out and getting Pope in. It's coming quite well for Newcastle right now. I think Trippier as well is a great guy to pick up if you're looking at an extra defender to pick up if you've not got him already.
It's probably a differential instead of having like Perisic in, I would get.
I think as well, I've got Saint Maximin in. I think the fact he'll be back from injury, the focus for a lot of teams will be going on like whether or not is Wilson back in the next couple of weeks, or is he out?
They think a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah.
So
he might be. He might be back after the games get all the postponed games.
So you're talking about what was possibly a different front three with Isak, Wilson in the middle, and Saint Maximin, and I think there's going to be some value in there for what they potentially could do. It's depressing when sports washing works, but here we are. You know?
I'm looking at Pope because I'm in that situation where I've got Martinez in goal and my sub goalie. It's not even Ward for Leicester. It's Alan Iverson himself. So, it's like for me the best possible scenario is the next 2 game weeks get called off, because then I don't have to worry about my goalie in game week 8 as things stand. That's probably going to have to be my transfer if the games go ahead. What are you thinking, Jamesy? Like as far as transfer wise, like would you consider are you considering moving into the forward kind of market?
I feel like
you've only got 2.
Yeah, I would love to have a third striker, but it's not easy money wise to get to. Like for me to get to a third, I can't really sell any of my defenders and move up to one of the strikers I want in even 2 moves, really. Like, so it would have to mean sacrificing. I don't think even Martinelli's 6.3 or 4, I think. So that's not going to get you a Mitrovic or a Tony. I'd have to get rid of Luis Diaz probably.
Or Salah.
Or Salah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like the other conversation I think we should have, again, I know we only did it 2 or 3 weeks ago, is Trent. Like, Jesus Christ, I watched that Napoli match last night, that Liverpool. He was brutal defensively. They were brutal defensively. Like, and Matip was back in the second half. They improved a little bit with him. Thiago was back. They're just not in any way looking like keeping clean sheets at the moment. I know they just kept one against Everton, but it's really, really ropey, and like, when does the time come where you just say, you know what, that's 7.4 or 5 that I have tied up. Like, I could get Ivan Toney out of Trent, you know what I mean? I could get rid of him and move up to Ivan Toney. And who is providing better points at the moment, Ivan Toney or Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then look at the Liverpool fixtures. They take a swing in week 8 or 9 where they have a run of 3 or 4 matches. I think they've City. Who is it?
City, Arsenal.
Yeah. There's a Brighton in there.
We're away at Chelsea, home to Brighton, then we're away at Arsenal, then we're home to Man City.
how many clean sheets are going to be in there? So like then you're relying on him for attacking returns, which apart from one explosive week, what do you think? Are you still adamant, Garrett, that you would keep him, or are you starting to sway a little bit?
£7.5 million. It's like, like I say, it's a Wilfred Zaha or something like that. Like
it's a Tony. I think I'd have a Tony for that.
If he'd have had two more minutes on the pitch, he'd have picked up his second clean sheet in 3 games.
That's true.
Like going there, but it's a one. If you said to me now, hand on heart, who's going to score, who's going to get more fantasy points this season, Tony or Alexander-Arnold? 100% of the time, I'd say Alexander-Arnold. Like,
look at the next 5. Look at the next 5 weeks, and look at the games Tony has: Southampton, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Brighton.
And you've got a wild card, Jamesy. You don't have to think about the whole season, do you? You only have to think about the next few weeks.
And look at the 5 Liverpool have. Like Wolves are still solid enough at the back that they don't really concede more than 1 or 2. Chelsea, Brighton are flying. Arsenal are flying. City. I don't know, like how many attacking returns are in there, how many clean sheets are in there. It's definitely like I could see myself doing a wild card and having no Liverpool player on it, honestly. Because Diaz is the third one I have. Maybe hang on to him, but I could easily, and like if you think you could drop Salah and Trent in a wild card, that's 20 million, over 20 million you have to spend on other parts of your team. You can get any team you want, pretty much. As I said, you could easily afford Kane up front and still have a pretty strong defense. And the other thing as well, I was looking at, like I did a very quick mock-up wild card. There's so many good budget midfielders now, like Zaha 7 something, Rashford 6 odd, Gross.
I tell you what I quite like as a United option. I think Eriksen's going to be quite an underrated guy. Yeah. Looking at how United are now playing with the direct passes from midfield, Eriksen's going to get a lot more straight balls to the attack that could lead to goals in the same way that De Bruyne does to Haaland. It could very easily be that sort of Eriksen pass through to Rashford or whomever's playing up top.
Yeah. How much is he now? He's only 6 this year.
Eriksen 6 or so, I think.
Who's that?
Eriksen.
I thought he was
the one for me, I'm thinking there, James, is where you're talking about wanting Rashford in your team. Like if he's 6.5 and Pereira's 4.5 on your bench, and then there's where your Trent thing is. You lose Trent as a 7.5 for a 5.5, and then suddenly you've got Rashford instead of Pereira as a 2-move thing. There you go. You've got what you want, and potentially you can for a short spell there. You could cover Trent with a second Newcastle defender or something like that potentially, and
I could have Pope and Trippier.
I could see Rashford's minutes getting limited as people come back to fitness. I think he'll be the one that will kind of fall by the wayside, sort of thing. Him and Ronaldo will probably come more off the bench.
Who's going to replace Rashford? I think
Martial to change Rashford. He's due back soon.
Martial's due back, but would you take Rashford out at the moment? 3 goals, 3 assists. Basically having his pace on the team won that game against Arsenal. It was his pace more than anything that was the difference maker in that game, and his pace offers them they're not playing the possession football. They're not able to play the possession football that Ten Hag wants to play. At the
they're really direct now. There was a really good.
But he's such a good weapon that if he's there and you can get early passes into him, you can hit teams on the break. If teams play a high line, you can get in behind. I wouldn't worry too much about Rashford's minutes. I think he'll be okay.
There was a really good bit by Tifo about the new kind of about the new United sort of thing. I don't know if you guys have caught it, but it shows how direct they're playing now and how it's Anthony's. I don't know if you know the Sarri ball concept, where everybody kind of plays on one side and then one guy kind of plays on the other.
Switches.
And that's what they're looking for under Ten Hag. It seems
he does that all the time.
Anthony's sticking out on the one wing, and then everybody else is over here. And that's how they scored the first goal against Arsenal. Rashford plays the ball through and comes in off the wing and hits it. And I don't know if Ramsdale knew which foot was Anthony's strongest, because he kind of was setting up as if he was a right-footed player, and then he hits it with his left foot and puts it around him, sort of thing. So there'll be a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see how Anthony does, because he obviously knows the Ten Hag system already. So he could definitely be an impact.
He didn't get brilliant numbers in Holland though, because a lot of people were kind of, when the price tag came out, it was like 100 million. People were saying, I think it was only something like 12 goals plus assists in the Dutch league. So I think Ten Hag values him for other things apart from just goals and assists. Like he wants him to hug the touchline and maintain the width. He wants him to track back. And I think as he matures as a player, his goals and assists will go up. But in the Premier League, I don't know if he's a great FPL asset yet.
Marco van Basten said he was overpriced, so that'll do for me. Good old Marco.
I think Man United become a fascinating option at this point in time. With obviously they'll have had early price drops, but you looking at those options of there of Eriksen, Sancho, and Anthony and Rashford, you think, okay, that's kind of interesting going forward as well. If you're looking, like you say, to get rid of a Salah, my first thought is like sort of Salah for Rashford and then work the money in and around there, and then you can kind of quietly improve stuff in the run up to the World Cup as well. Is it? I mean, I don't know. We'd say it's too early to take a punt on the Man U defense. Like, I mean, I always think it's slightly risky.
I've seen a lot of talk about Dalot, and I just can't get on board with that. I think there's many better options than getting on board with Diogo Dalot at the moment. He's always a likely candidate for a yellow card.
Yeah.
So that's always a negative, and I don't think you can trust the United defence as a whole to keep a clean sheet. I mean, I thought 3-1 to United flattered United. I don't know about you guys on the whole of that game. I think if that first goal for Arsenal wasn't chalked off, I think that's a completely different game. And then the subs obviously kind of, they decided, we'll go for the equaliser or we'll lose, and they lost sort of things.
Because Arteta
threw it away, panicked.
He made a balls of it. Arsenal were doing fine, and at 1-1, I was pretty sure Arsenal were going to win that game. They were pushing forward. United were sitting back, which is a thing they do too much, trying to soak up pressure, and they're not good enough defensively to just absorb pressure. And this was only like 65 minutes. There was 25 minutes left. He should have maybe he could have changed personnel. He should have kept the system going as it was. The minute he piled all those strikers on, I was thinking, hold on. Even the commentators were saying this is too much. Like, it's like
it really was. It was like
they went to like a 3-3-4, didn't they?
It was. And the issue is, and this is why the 2-week break is important for betting on Arsenal. If you're going to bet on them for like FPLs, is it's the central midfield and it's getting players back into there. So it's having as much as I've liked Sambi Lokonga over this period of time. And again, if you're looking at like kind of budget Arsenal midfielders, there's a chance he'll play in a slightly more advanced role at points if Partey's back. And I think he's pre-season, he was good enough to play in that position as well. But once Partey's kind of back in that side, or they're looking possibly to just sort of solidify that central midfield position, I think then that frees up everything else around that side to be able to go ahead and get a few more goals. But Odegaard had a knock. I don't know if he's going to have time to kind of run that off, because then it might mean that Fabio Vieira will play, who looked apparently good against the match against Zurich. But
Any other learning from the games this past game week? Anything else? Anyone know? Any teams? Anyone's keeping an eye on going forward?
Chaos is everywhere, as we've seen today.
As I said from the start of the season, Podence is the better option at Wolverhampton than Neto, as he scored again last week. He's the guy that play in the middle. He's the guy that gets all the opportunities. It's not great because it's Wolves and they have really low XG and they generally underperform that anyway. But Podence is the guy that gets the chances. So, I went with him in my initial draft until I fucked it up when the Leicester players went cheap, and I had him in my draft team as well. But yeah, I think he's the better option if you're looking at a Wolves player. Nothing else really. Everybody needs Haaland. I need to move towards there.
Any interest in Spurs? Son, I saw came close, hit the woodwork. Might exist again, maybe.
I saw a stat. I think his son had the most shots without scoring this season or something. And I was thinking, does that? I know I ditched him a couple of weeks ago, but I was like, is this going to come good? Is he the option for Salah? Like, you think if he is getting close, but I just don't trust him. And plus, what I don't trust now is him to definitely start, because the start Richarlison's had.
Yeah.
Then I think now you're in a world where you've got the front four at Spurs, and that's going to that's going to rotate, isn't it? And that's where you know Harry Kane's never getting dropped. So there's that.
Well, they've dropped Kulusevski twice instead, though, haven't they?
So then, do you think, well, is Son due one then? Like, it's
that's true.
You know, especially if Richarlison's putting the ball away.
Probably not against City though, because Son is always the differential against City. Like the last few games they've had, he's always the one that has a good game against them. So if that game's going ahead, then I expect him to play, and he'll probably do well in that. But yeah,
be worth getting. I was just going to say, it'd be worth getting on Ryan Sessegnon. I think he's going to end up playing a whole heap of league games for them.
You could do what they call in like NFL fantasy draft handcuffing, where you have two players that play in the same position. So in the draft, obviously, Matty's got Haaland and he's got Alvarez. I've got Jesus and I've got Eddie Nketiah. So you know that if one doesn't play, the other one will. So you could do that where you've got Perisic and Sessegnon, because you know that if one plays, the other. You know, and they kind of
subs are a killer.
The danger there is, though, it's the 10 minutes at the end, isn't it?
And the 5 subs makes that more likely.
Yeah, it's hard to do, isn't it?
What you have to do is predict it. You need to try and predict who's going to play each week. So like this weekend, a lot of us kind of knew Perisic wasn't playing. So if you had both,
that's why I've been
leave Perisic out and put Sessegnon in, and you'd be flying, you know. But you'd have to be very good with your team predictions to kind of keep that up.
Yeah,
it would be a very stressful thing to do all season, you know.
At least with Spurs, there is that guy that gives away the team about 12 to 18 hours before the game.
They were a godsend.
I haven't got my list of
we'll go through that.
I was going to ask anyone. I mean, like, is it? I know he's back, and then like a Dominic Solanke is like, in terms. I'm probably more thinking it's like sort of a fantasy draft. But is there an option where he's going to be the only real sort of like outlet for them scoring goals, or certainly goal involvements as well? I was just thinking that when he came back. Not that I think Bournemouth are going to stay up or anything else, but is he going to be that one bit of value from that team?
Have you ever seen that website FPL Review, where it's computer jet? It's all done through an algorithm, and it suggests you put your code of your team into it, and the algorithm suggests to you the best transfer for you to make. And I put my code into it last week just as a matter of interest, and fucking Solanke was the prediction, and I was like, "Fuck off! I'm not bringing in Solanke into my team." And lo and behold, a goal and an assist. I was like, Jesus.
There's a lot of conversation about that. A lot of it's like the FPL community's version of VAR. Like, there's a lot of people like, "Oh, is it right? Is it ruining the game? Like, the computer's going to be
a boring way to play the game." But sometimes I look at it just for a suggestion or to give me an idea or something like that. But Solanke was this week's suggestion, and lo and behold, a goal and assist.
I would say the system must have been broke when it was saying I must do 4 transfers this week.
The computer's fault. On the VAR point, actually, like, what was everyone's least favorite VAR decision this week? Like, match of the day was depressing, wasn't it? It was just like every game.
The worst one was McAllister, because that was a class goal. If a goal's that good, it shouldn't get rejected. There should be an extra bit where you go, that was fucking sweet. That stands.
It was like that guy's toe being just ahead of a defender was no advantage to him when he hit that ball. Like, that's this. Like, there should be a spirit to the rule where you should actually take into account. You should actually think about the person you're ruling offside and say, okay, I know they have interfering with play, but like, there was no gain to Brighton for that guy being slightly offside when he took a shot from 30 yards out.
They need a star rating thing to go into it there, and that was like a 5-star goal, and he was like, "Yeah, that should be allowed to stand." When it's some shitty like 1-star one that goes in off someone's arse and someone's toes ahead of it, like, we'll rule that one out. It doesn't matter. But when someone's rattling in a banger like that, go on, you can have it.
I said in the chat earlier, the daylight rule always works for me. Because daylight means there's a clear and obvious advantage. Like you say, like if I've got size 12 feet and the person marking me's got size 8 feet, that's not my fault that my foot's ahead of theirs. Like, we could be standing in the exact same position, but then I'm ahead of them or whatever. It doesn't work for me that way.
Is this going to be the latest trend? You're going to get these like progressive managers buying players who've got small feet.
Tiny feet.
Just got loads of ballerina dancers just walking around on
squash their feet into smaller boots.
Yeah, for
Just
me,
shave a bit off your toes there, lad.
Put your toenails.
Yeah, it's not working for me at the minute the way it's done. I think there was a couple in the European games as well, because they have the automated bit as well, don't they? Where it's like a heat-seeking line sort of thing. And there was one where it was, again, like a toenail just off and they cancelled it. It's just like, it's not enough of an advantage to be 3 millimeters ahead of the defender to be worthwhile striking the goal.
Though, isn't it? Because I'm FPL guy, not footy guy, so I'm very much in support of VAR. I'd rather the decision be right at the end of the day. The problem is they're not always right. That humans still interpret it and still interpret it wrong. But I always think though, with that though, if we're saying there's no difference in a centimeter, all right, we changed the rule to 5 centimeters. Won't we all be arguing when there's one that's 6? When we, there's one that's
there's always, exactly.
No matter what, the way it worked in the NFL a while ago is they went, the advantage is always with the attacker. So all the rules favor offense because people want to see points. People don't want to see a 0-0. People want to see a 5-5. That's you watch the game to see points scored. So the NFL just went, all the rules, protect the quarterback and they help offense, and that's basically how the sport works. So
that's a great shout from Chris there. You know what to say about smaller fees, bigger transfer
fees. Exactly. There you go. That's how it's going to be.
But on the NFL point, and I'm sure you can answer this as well, Gareth. It feels like it's something I've heard. Are they not a lot stricter with the refs when they fuck up? Is there not bigger consequences and more of a public kind of?
So the referees have to say everything. Yeah, the referees have to say everything on mic when they're making a decision. They have to say, this is the decision because of X, Y, and Z. There's an overruling body that watches everything on TV. And if they see something that the refs haven't picked up and it's a deciding factor in the play, they can overrule them and say, you've missed this or whatever. And the teams get judged throughout the season. And if they're bad enough all season long, they just get relegated back to the college game. And other people get to be like the top ref. So the refs have to be...
That's good. Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, the best referee... so they work in a team of 7. The best 7 get to do the Super Bowl.
Wow!
So that's so the referees are basically playing to ensure that they're the best people and
brilliant.
Get the games right.
You still get loads of errors.
Yeah. But
is there as much arguing in that sport as there is in soccer? Like
the amount of times that you see, the amount of times that you see NFL commentators going like, his knee was down there, and then it gets, and then it doesn't get given as that and things.
There are more fouls on one individual NFL play than you probably see in an entire Premier League game. Like there's so many rule infractions that you can make in the NFL. Some are egregious, some are like really minute, but it's a difficult game to referee because there's just so many people on the pitch at any one time. But
I was saying in the chat though, I just totally agree with like Sarah, my wife, just came up with the thing of like for VAR, she was like, put it on the clock, 30 seconds. If you can't make a decision in 30 seconds, it's not a clear and obvious error. Just go with what they said on the field. And then if it's there, someone's blatantly offside, when you look at it on the video again, great, he's offside. Put 2 lines there, he's offside. But if it comes to be like, we're just moving this line here and this one here and things like that, then fuck it. Like it's too nuanced, it's too detailed, it's pointless.
Yeah. As a combination of cricket and the NFL, like the team or the manager can, if they don't agree with a decision or they think they've seen something that nobody else has, you can challenge it and then they'll go, we'll review that play because the manager's challenged it. And then they get 1 challenge a game, 2 challenges a game. And then you're not stopping it for every infraction. You're just doing it every now and then sort of thing.
And in the NFL, it's like you lose a timeout. It could be, now you've got 5 subs, you lose a sub. If you've got it wrong.
Exactly.
I love that stuff. Because it would also, like, for me, confirm a lot of... Because I was reverting back to my mid-90s, everything's a conspiracy against Arsenal point at the times over the weekend. There are some referees, you think, if they had that 30-second, they'd be sprinting to that telly. Absolutely sprinting. Go on, no, cancel the goal. Brilliant. Like, call it like that. You could, you know that. You think, Mike
There was a
6-minute
break on a VAR call this weekend.
Yeah.
And you just like 6 minutes. And even the commentator was like, if you take it this long, it's not worth.
That's not clear and obvious. Like it's anything but clear and obvious. So the worst one was West Ham. They got screwed. That was ridiculous. Like you could say the United Arsenal was P50. I'd obviously say it was a blatant foul, and it should never have been VAR in the first place.
Should have been sent
No,
off,
I'm joking.
shouldn't he, James?
But the West Ham one was disgrace. That was really weird.
Also, everything looks worse in slow motion. So if you're looking if you're looking at a foul, then obviously you're going to see the impact more because you're slowing it down and you're looking at the. I think that's why the Odegaard one got, because it was like a knee to thigh sort of challenge. You like, in the moment you were like, oh, it was rough, but I don't think it's worth calling back. And then you look at it in slow motion, it looks like Kinshasa has his knee and he's just like throwing him down, sort of thing. You're just like,
Think about
like Keane Haaland.
Thing about the West Ham one was there was David Moyes. So, haha.
Hey, they're turning around. West Ham. Lump on West Ham. They got a good fixtures coming for us.
Watch the fixtures.
Well, I mean, as well as Andy had in there earlier on, I think Paqueta is going to end up playing a part there.
Yeah, he's scored a few goals for his French side, so fingers crossed.
Well, is Jared Bowen then? I think because, again, he's someone who was obviously performed last year. His price has dropped a fair bit there. If there's something better supply, come in there as well at West Ham, potentially he's someone who's he hasn't got any of his points yet that he's going to get. So potentially
0 returns. Yeah, I have him in the draft. I thought I'd got a great pick in the draft. No returns so far. Nothing. Absolutely.
Fifth best player in the game last year. It blows my mind every time I see that stat. Yeah, but he has literally, everyone was going, he shouldn't be 8.5. Well, great, he's 8.1 now. So
I still wouldn't buy him, mind you.
I was going to say, this is normally where we pick our captains going forward. We don't think this game week's happening, do we? If it is Haaland, is it as simple as that?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a renegade game week where it's just a groups of lads who are insistent on playing this weekend. Because it's imagine if Queen Elizabeth would have won.
Liverpool are the only team that play.
Liverpool. Come on. Liverpool Celtic. Just putting on.
Imagine if this was a game week where there was a Friday night game and they hadn't made the decision yet. The Friday game happens, but nothing else does. I love that. The chaos that could cause.
You'd be thinking for the lucky bastards who went to the game at a cracking time, didn't they?
My captain this week was going to be Jesus because Pickford's injured, isn't he? So,
and so's Lonergan.
So I wish
getting in any keeper, isn't he?
Yeah. So I was Jesus or Saka. I was going to try and do something a bit different. So that was going to be the call there. But it doesn't look like it'll be happening. So
because I'm kind of looking at getting. Well, I'm looking at getting back to Haaland. So. My choices were taking a -4 and doing the 3 transfers that I've got in mind, or doing the 1 transfer, which is the goalkeeper from Edison down to Pope, and then captaining either Salah against Wolves or Jesus against Everton, and then doing the 2 of the transfers the following week without taking the -4. But I think there's a good. I mean, if the games do go ahead, I think there's a good argument for Jesus against a weakened Everton back line. Or Salah against Wolves, but Haaland I'd still take Haaland, I think, over those 2.
This is the problem because if you go with Jesus, you've got to wait till Sunday, and that'll be horrible sitting through that game on Saturday night. At least if you go Salah,
like Andy and I have said for a few weeks that City Spurs game is usually open end-to-end stuff. Spurs are one of the few teams that can really get out City, so you usually look at a 4-3 sort of thing.
City don't have a good record against Spurs. Seems to be like one of the bogey teams.
And nobody's talking about City's defence. City's defence has been ropey this season. I know they've had a couple of clean sheets.
A lot of rotation,
but there's it's not settled. There's the conceding goals against teams you wouldn't expect them to. Again. That doesn't feel like a banker to me by any means.
I still don't think everybody's just assuming City are going to win the league, but I still look at their squad and it's very, very small. I know it's everyone in the squad is quality, and you take one in and you put another one out, and it doesn't affect the quality of the first team that much. But it's only something like 15 or 16 outfield players, I think it's 6 defenders. They bought this guy Akanji from Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah,
I don't think he's that great. Now I know as a defender for City, you end up not having to do an awful lot, a lot of weeks, but I wouldn't say he's a top class signing. There are a couple of injuries away from playing that young lad Gomez at left back, and I don't know. I think they will not, definitely will not keep, if that match goes ahead, they won't keep a clean sheet against Spurs. Conte will love to sit back, absorb pressure. He'll definitely play Son. He'll definitely play Kane. He'll probably play Richarlison for his pace as well. He'll leave the three of those up front and they'll hit them on the break. He'll play Perisic as high up as he can as well. And they will love to soak up pressure and try and hit them on the break as much as they can.
Yeah.
And if that new signing at centre half's only got one leg, he'll still be better than John Stones. So it's got to be an improvement there.
Well, just looking at the news here on the BBC, I mean, in terms of sports, just as an update on here, obviously they've had all Friday race meetings being cancelled. Second day of the PGA Championship, the Football League has cancelled 2 games on Friday. It feels impossible there'll be any football this weekend. Just can't see it being the precedent. I think it's whether or not next Saturday does that go, because what
are we all going to do on Saturday afternoon?
We have been, as wrestling fans, complaining about them not putting stuff on Saturdays. Here's for once you'd like an event to be on a Sunday, wouldn't you? Really? Yeah. Just do the anti of what they've done with pay-per-views for wrestling, to switch them around. Wrestling pay-per-views on the Saturday, funerals on the Sunday.
I have a feeling the Premier League might make a play and try and get one of these 2 weekends.
Because what she would have wanted.
Yeah, even if you read the press release from the Premier League,
to a sweet prince in the sky.
They even put that in the press release that she was a fan of the Premier League, and I think there's so much money involved and there's so little place to put postponed matches,
and it's so late.
Yeah, I think they'll try and make a push that the Premier League brings people to all this crap like they had during COVID. Remember, that we need to bring it back for people's morale and all this, and it'll be about money, really. But I have a feeling they will push and try and get, if not this weekend, then play games. They don't want 2 blank weekends in a row. They really don't want that happening.
She was a big wrestling. She was a big wrestling fan, wasn't she?
Death match. Loved her death matches.
She used to be there, tuning into World of Sport. Apparently, maybe they'll.
You did notice a turn in her when they cancelled the wrestling channel. She just didn't see the same after that.
But NXT UK.
I know that was a long while ago. NXT UK was the final one on there.
Couldn't handle it.
And that GCW pay-per-view from the Hammerstein. She ate.
We'll have a quick look at the draft before we go.
Just a quick one.
Do we want to do?
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
I was going to say, do we want to do James's list of?
I'll do that at the end. I think we'll do that before we go. We'll go through that there. But yeah, draft. Obviously, yeah. Sorry, let me just move everyone to the side just so everyone can best see. The full league there, and Garrett's still top. Not a defeat anymore, though, Garrett.
Who's the real winner in all?
Where were you last week, eh?
Shut up.
What happened, mate? What went wrong?
It was one of them. You get these banana skins.
He's disgusted. Look at him. He's disgusted.
The JP with his Wimbledon-esque performance.
Yes.
Sanchez is in there.
It was a good beating now, in fairness.
Win to win.
29.
Yeah.
We're talking about this week, aren't we? Sorry, I thought we did last. We
did this when I had a bad week. So
like Eddie Martinez, it's one of these things where it's going to gnaw at you.
Spankings. Look at that. There you go, Eddie.
Honest to God, 64-2 there. Andy, you spanked.
I killed the business. Didn't I?
I tell you what, 62 points on a draft team is a phenomenal bit of
I tell you what, look at
a lot of points when you don't get bonus points.
Look at my team, how much you wouldn't have this as your actual team and the things. Look at the lads weighing in for me there. Old
Johnson.
Brennan Johnson,
Kilman, Trossard, Johnson, Bueno. I transferred Gibbs White in this. Transferred Gibbs White in this week. He weighed in with a little assist there, just like
he's an IWC pick. That
Eddie Martin is on the bench. I love that.
Do you know fucking the one at risk? Fucking Son does nothing for me. The only guy with any value in the team.
I'll pick him up. Who do you want? I'll show you in a minute.
Those trades will be coming thick and fast now.
I'm going to say, saying it's open season, Gareth.
Get your offers in, lads. Get your offers in for Son.
I'm disgusted. 2 or 3 weeks ago, Andy offered me Rashford for Elliott of Liverpool, and I was like,
Mm.
the Bournemouth match was coming up, and I thought, no, like he'll surely get a bit in the board. And Rashford wasn't doing much at the time. I'm fucking disgusted I didn't go for that now. That would have been a great old trade, yeah.
I was going to say with my team, I was worried this week because obviously Matty's got Haaland up front, so you expect massive points there. And mine was all tied up in Arsenal versus Manchester United. So when bloody Rashford got to, I was like, bloody get in.
Yeah, 18, yeah.
And Dominic Solanke.
Darwin as well. Coming
Solanke as well, wow. Yeah.
Well, I was lucky that
on
my
the
actual
bench.
my three main strikers all played. I only stuck Saka and Varane on the bench just because I thought that'd be a tough game. But
Jesus.
Very happy how it's going.
Love that. I think the closest game of the week was me and you, Chris. 27-29.
It came right down to the last game as well.
So
that was because I had Fernandez, Odegaard, and Jesus, and you had a couple of defenders, I think. And when Fernandez got that assist, that put me slightly in front. So
that was it. I was for me. I'll show you who did I have. It was that. It was having I've got Ben White there, Xhaka there as well. Yeah.
Tony Gordon, he cost me a £5 not getting a booking last week, arsehole.
That's the first time I've seen that, by the way. Look at that. Pickford on the bench, 9.
Yeah, 9. Yeah, I put that in the chat at the time, I think, if you'd have played it.
I must have missed it.
I mean, it's understandable why you didn't.
I wouldn't make that decision differently again, so it's one of those things. But that hurts. They were there. That was a close one. Any other ones of note there? JP obviously spanking Connor there. Another good week for JP in the draft.
Wait, not really, because my points are terrible because half of these bastards don't play. Don't they? So I've got rid of Zach Grealish in there as well. The big star, and again, I'm going to bring him up because he's going to be one of Europe's finest centre half, Nathan Collins, who's been every time he's been getting bonuses in there as well. Like, I mean, he's got a few decent points. Him and Salah.
He's one of the top scoring defenders in the game now.
He really is.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. And he's going to play because of Connor Cody going. Like between him and Kilman, I think they're like. It's like I think what Gareth said earlier on. The thing is with Wolves, and is even though it's terrible XG, like they're going to be the kind of side who get like kind of clean sheets and the rest of it. Smith Rowe, he's I'm basically getting rid because I just think he's going to be niggled with injuries up until like kind of Christmas time. Sancho's generally been all right. I think this is just the midfield itself is generally quite solid, and then up front I think the points will be spread about. What we don't have is like say what Matty has with Haaland, which is kind of a nice cheeky cheat code in the middle of it. But yeah,
I think what's helped for you, JP, what's helped for you is because you've been bottom for the last couple of weeks. You've been able to pick up these, like new signings coming in.
I'm hoping to get Anthony, and because I'm still near the bottom as well, so I'm hoping to be able to get Anthony in there.
Well, not now.
Not going for
Aubameyang. No, I'm not going for Aubameyang at all. No, I don't want to get. I mean, I'm not even convinced of how much he's going to end up starting. I just don't see. I could be completely wrong. Obviously, he's going to score against Arsenal. That is going to happen. But I look at like Aubameyang, and I know in terms of the strikers I've got, it's Jota coming back in, Antonio and Isak, and I'm like thinking, I don't know if he'll play enough for it to be kind of worth it for me, but.
Oh well, yeah. You need the bottom, JP, so you'll get second dibs behind Connor. So hopefully Connor's not paying attention. He's been on his holidays, so you might get in there with a
mate,
or someone else first choice.
You live it up, Connor. Don't you worry about this draft bollocks.
Have a few drinks.
Have a few drinks. Crack on. Also,
you're gonna PayPal him some money just to have a good time.
Have one on me.
Is Ben Schwarmer's you, Chris, or is it other Chris?
Ben Schwarmer's me. Yeah.
Not going great. Just rubbing it in.
No, I was genuinely looking at that.
A couple of results. The league's not won after 6 weeks, boys. Calm down.
It's all right.
It's Gareth and Jordan
slowly building. I mean, it's
Plenty
only, you know, what, 9 points behind, so it's not too bad.
I think Jordan has very much proven that him not doing well in like having those struggles in the draft league last year is very much an anomaly when it comes with him in fantasy games.
You look at the points scored there, though. You've been unlucky, haven't you, Jamesy? You must have had some games where you've.
I had 2 or 3 weeks where there was nothing in it, like 2 or 3 points. Yeah. What's killing me, I say it every week, my top 3 picks in the draft were Robertson from Liverpool, Allison from Liverpool, Jared Bowen. Barely a return. You'd expect them to be carrying the team, like double Liverpool. I'm not going to get rid of them. Like, you're not going to get rid of Robertson or Allison, but they're just killing me. There's no clean sheets in them. Every week it's a 1 or a 2. Bowen's done nothing. So if I'm confident, I think I have 3 West Ham players. If they can start, if their fixtures improve, I think I can start maybe doing something. But it's just frustrating. Like, it's like, you know, and I look at the team and I'm like, there's not too many of them I want to take out, you know.
Big Mitro in there is a
big Mitro. He's a star so far. Yeah,
you've clearly had a shite draw, and you look at that, and then you look at how many points you've actually scored. You must have just been unfortunate playing people on the weeks when they probably had
a bit of bad luck. But I think some fixture swings might help me a little bit, and if Liverpool can sort themselves out, I'll be all right.
I mean, you look at Will, and he's got 2
not a statement.
He's got the least amount of points, but he's ahead of
9 points
mid-table.
That's the great thing about this game. You can sneak an out win, like, and
Was it last week where somebody would have beaten everybody else apart from the person they played? Yeah,
that was me.
And you're like, that's the joy of the
all
game.
people.
Yeah, only matters that game week.
Fuming about that. He hasn't had his parade yet. It's coming, I'm told. So we'll see. This week I've got Eddie, JP, Matty. So yeah, you watch out for him, JP. Watch your back. Jamesy and Andy, a little derby there. Will and Garrett. So should be another comfortable 3-way for Garrett, I would imagine. Chris and Connor, and other Chris and Jordan there as far as the fixtures go. If it takes place, which is unlikely.
It won't.
Probably not going to, isn't it? Yeah, I wonder what
happens. Mate, she's on the BBC Sports page. The first 5 stories are about her. Now, like, it's just like, some sporting pictures of the Queen. Her and a horse. It's not like her doing a 5th tackle in rugby league or something like that, is it? Which at least you think she was into her sports. At least Princess Anne was into it.
It's like that round the head.
She was.
But genuinely though, what happens with the draft? I suppose those games just we're all 0, aren't we? And we move on like game week.
I'll take
we all win.
There'll be big double game weeks, but yeah, I suppose it's all 0. Yeah.
You don't.
And
get
what happens with
transfers in the drafts?
What was that?
Teams play twice. Like, if you have a player who's played twice,
if they play twice, they play in the same game week in the draft.
Yes, yeah.
You don't get a game week for each draft.
The matches will get moved, but I suppose it's just 0-all for everybody. Like, can I ask what's going to happen in the normal game with transfers? Like there's a deadline at the moment for transfers of 11 a.m. on Saturday. If I don't make a transfer now, and then the next game week is called off as well. Do the transfers roll? Will I end up with 2 transfers the next time there's a game week, or how, you know?
This is why
I make one transfer in between? Like,
I'm thinking I'm going to make my Edison to Pope transfer tonight, and then when it rolls over to the next game week, I'll have 2 transfers again because I don't want to risk losing 1 transfer.
Have you got 2 at the moment?
Yeah, so I've got 2 at the moment. So I'll probably do.
But will they roll? I don't know. Yeah,
I think they will. I think it will just carry on as a rolling week, I guess, unless they announce something. But it's 2 a.m. that it all happens on the website. So if I do it tonight, then I'll probably be ahead of the curve, sort of thing.
Yeah,
good thinking. Yeah, but yeah, like we said at the top, all those people who pulled the wildcard button or just made a load of transfers, gambling for this week, you know, fancied a couple of hits because the fixture was good this week.
If you took a free hit, you'd be disgusted.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Gone.
Free hit or a wildcard.
Triple captain gone. Yeah. Andy, don't do it. Don't press Andy. Just don't. Definitely this week. Don't
Jamesy. I'm not that daft.
Well, before we get into Jamesy had some people you should listen to on us, basically, that we'll go through in a minute. Just very quickly, the GRAPPL League itself. Jamesy, like say, top of our lot, sitting there 4th in the overall in the GRAPPL League. JP not far behind in 6th, but yeah, top 3 now. Aiden Dodd is number 1. Skinny Jeans FC, Kevin Otalo is second. That's the first time I think I've seen his name. Knocking about on the lovely Pendant moderation, who we still don't know who the mystery is. Sitting in third. I love it. They're gonna just fly through to the end of the season. Yeah, doing well there. I'm always interested who's actually who's bottom. Let's see. Is it Will? Is the main question I've got.
Well, the Salah team.
Roberto Callis is bottom there. Martin's not doing well. 162nd. Bushby's babes.
Don't scroll up anymore.
It's okay. I was scared that it's my own name. But there you go. All still to play for. It's still early, but things are starting to take shape. And yeah, Jamesy, JP, I think you're sitting pretty there at the top. Be quite happy if I was you guys.
Yeah, for Jesus, very happy. Yeah.
Jamesy will be up there. I won't be. I'll do something daft. I'll forget that deadline when we're doing a weekend show. We haven't had one of those scenarios in a while. You always have to swear publicly. So I'm expecting that there. I think it's
in the mix again.
Having the focus on the brother helped for a couple of weeks, but Jordan is going to overtake me soon enough. This is, as Christ would have wanted him to do, he's going to overtake and do very well later on.
I'm delighted to see Kinder and Buemo doing so well.
Kinder and Buemo. Yeah, that's...
Sitting there in ninth, fair play.
Have we figured out who pending moderation is yet? That's
still no.
They're still
have to put a tweet out or something and try to figure it out.
Sorry, can I give a shout out as well for Sesk People Lynn? It's just like a phenomenal guy.
United fan and also in the Pets at Home League. So if you know anyone who makes a Pets at Home, that's who pending moderation.
Who's in that? Can you click on that league?
Let's have a look. How big is that league?
A lot of people who work there, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it one branch of Pets at Home, or is it like the Pets at Home great?
We're doxing this guy, aren't we? We know where he works. What else can we find out about him?
Like Google his name. Find where he lives, get him on Google Street Map.
What's their FPL ID number, and I'll have a look on anything.
6335836.
Hang on, I'm just getting the website. What was the number?
I'll pop it in the chat.
By the way, on a non-FPL note, just to say that the title for next week's Spotlight, I'm hoping for Prince Philip Brooks. If we can.
We'll find a way to do it. Before we go there, though, obviously, Jamesy, you sent me over a bit of a link of some of the experts in the community that, like I say, hopefully no one's listening to us for advice. Maybe you and Chris, but don't listen to me when it comes to FPL advice. There are people out there who are definitely smarter than us. That you put together a bit of a list for us.
Yeah, like it's an FPL Twitter is a big place, and there's good accounts, there's bad accounts, there's some shite talked on there as well. Now, to be honest, it's like wrestling Twitter. You could narrow it down to maybe 10, 15 very good accounts that if you just stuck with them, you'd be grand. Some of the very useful ones are for like early team news. If you can hold off on your transfers till especially the first one there at Jump the Wave is it's a group of 20 fans, and they'll do team predictions for Man City, the teams that tend to rotate where you're not sure of the lineup. So they'll do Man City, they'll do Liverpool, they'll do Chelsea, Spurs this season as well. So that they'll get 20 really well tuned in fans to give their lineup prediction, and they'll give you the percentage. They'll say 100% of people think Perisic is going to start this week. So it'll give you an indication of whose position might be in doubt for a particular week and that kind of thing. And it usually is pretty accurate. Somebody else mentioned him earlier at P. O'Keefe 1. If you can kind of wait till about 24 hours before kickoff, he sometimes has inside information where he'll get the actual lineup, and sometimes he'll say this is just a prediction, but he's usually he'll have 9, 10 out of 11 right. FF Scout Luke is really, he's the best I've seen at actually predicting Pet Roulette. I don't know how he does it, but he's usually 9, 10, 11 out of 11 right for Man City, which is an impossible team to predict sometimes, Team news and ticks is one. If you're getting really close to if you were close to the deadline for say the 12 o'clock kickoff on a day, they'll sometimes put a tweet out something like Salah's not playing today. And if Liverpool are in the early kickoff, they don't tweet very often, but every now and again they'll come up with a gem, as I said, at 11 o'clock in the morning on the day of maybe 5 minutes before the deadline, something like Salah's not playing today or something like that. And if you're on the ball, that's quite good. And FPL Rockstar as well, you'll usually see a tweet from them a good bit before team sheets come out, just something like Haaland needs a rest today or something like that. And they're sometimes after the deadline, so they're no help. For injuries as well.
I hate these earlier deadlines, by the way. I miss when the deadline was just that half an hour later. You had more of a chance, didn't you, getting the little leaks?
Exactly. For injuries, like there's quite a lot of info you can get from the press conferences, like which usually take place, say, on the Friday morning to lunchtime of the weekend before the fixtures. And there's a guy called Ben Dinnery who does he'll do a big long thread of all the information, like who's injured for what teams, who's a doubt, maybe something like Pep saying somebody looks tired. He'll give you any information you need to know about lineups and that kind of thing. And then FPL Status is really good at updating, like tweeting out kind of generated tweets about who's injured and that kind of thing. And then just some of the better content creators, because as I said, there's a lot of accounts on Twitter, and like there's people who'll try a hot take. They'll want to be the one who made the mad selection, like some Brentford player. Like, so everybody's striving for a hot take. These are just really good, reliable sources. I think James from Planet FBL he's my number one podcast. I don't know, do you guys listen to him? But
he's amazing.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant, and he's even if you're just a football fan, he's a guy he's a football expert, I would say, but with an FPL slant. So even if you didn't play FPL, I think listening to him on his podcast every week, it's just really good. He will tell you everything. He'll tell you subtle things like formations. Like he'll have noticed something like Brentford are now playing 4-3-3, and he'll tell you, like, if Brentford play 4-3-3, Ivan Toney is much more likely to score. Little gems of information like that, you know what I mean? He's just amazing.
I love James. He's like Spurs JP. Like we've gone back and forth in the DMs a couple of times.
You're friendly enough with him, aren't you, Benno? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, usually if I jump in their chat, he'll mention GRAPPL, or like he's like a lapsed wrestling fan. So we have talked in the past about doing something. I don't know what it would be, like just maybe make a dust off versus, and we could chat FPL and old school wrestling or something. But I want to get JP in because he's like, he's a Spurs fan, but I can just imagine them two getting along. I think it makes it a great podcast.
I'm all right. I've had to live and grow up around Spurs fans all my life, so I can tolerate them at this point. It took me 44 years to get to that stage. So
he's a sound one. And then Andy, most people know Andy from Let's Talk FPL. He does all his last minute videos and that kind of thing. He's one of the more widely known content creators, I'd say.
I was watching him when he had like 50 viewers. It's like ridiculous. You go on his deadline day streams now, and like there's literally tens to hundreds of thousands of people on.
It's mad that he's now like it's mad that he's now like number one YouTube creator for FPL.
He's probably the most well known.
It's his full time job now. Like he used to work for EA, and like he left working for EA to become a full-time FPL content creator. So he's the most well-known. I don't think he's the best specific.
I think it's because he's so personable. It's a personality thing. I think it's
worth listening to him because he's like the big waves sort of thing. Like he's really good on fixtures and like what's coming up. I don't think his picks on specific players are great. Like the whole reason that people were on Neto and Bailey was mainly because of Andy, because he was like very early on them, and because he's like the big voice, a lot of people kind of jumped on the following sort of thing. But he's worth listening to just to get the big overarching view of where YouTube FPL is at.
Definitely.
FPL general, I would say if you're a beginner at the game, he's a really good guy he does a podcast. He does the athletics FPL podcast, and I remember finding him very good the first year that I really started taking it seriously. I think it was 3 years ago, and I found he aims the podcast at the masses kind of, so it's quite good basic general advice. He's been playing the game like 20 years. He's like got loads of top 10 finishes. He's a really kind of safe manager, and if you're somebody who's new to the game, if you listen to his podcast, I think he has 2 podcasts a week. He'll just give you very good basic tips to kind of improve your game and that kind of thing.
He's very succinct as well, I'd say, with him. Like,
Yeah.
I'd say the podcast can be a little bit dry because it's just him talking.
Yes.
But you get all the information you need in half an hour. Do you know what I mean?
30
Rather than sitting there listening to knobheads like us for 2.5 hours. And but you out of it.
Yeah,
half an hour, you're done. You know, it's like homework, isn't it, when you listen to it.
Yeah. And he's got himself a gig on Sky now as well. Like, so he's kind of one of the legends, I would say, of FPL management. Like, he's one of the first content creators. And it's good to see guys like him doing well out of it. Like, he's got a whole career just from FPL stuff as well, which is great to see. Ben Crellin is the man for fixtures. Like, he'll produce when these double game weeks start coming out now, he'll produce lovely charts telling you who's playing in 2 game weeks. Really lovely visual charts where you can easily see who's got a double game week coming up, who's got a blank. Like, he was a godsend, say, during COVID there. When
He knows the Premier League fixture list better than the people that run the Premier League fixture list. He's like, this is the week where it's like, this is the only week where they can put this game, and he says it 8 weeks out, and then eventually it's like, oh, this is the week we've had to put this game.
He's probably got tweets up already about when's the most likely time for the cancelled games this weekend are going to be. Like, he'd already be saying it's probably going to be game week 23, 24, or 28. Like, he just has a brain like a computer for this kind of thing. At FFS Community was an account I discovered recently. If you're into your visuals and heat maps like Chris is, and FPL_Chase, same thing as well. Just really beautiful visual data of easy to see stats and that kind of thing. And then I just threw at the end as well, FF Scout AZ. It's as from the other Black Box. It's the other kind of video podcast that I would watch. Like, they're really, would you say, Benno, they're kind of stats guys? Like, they put up lots and lots of visuals and charts on their videos.
A lot of they've kind of, like, I hate to say this, Chris, but they've almost converted me to being into XG and XA. Like, the way they present the stats is it's like, the expected goals. They go through all the best defenders, midfielders. It's kind of like the picking through the weeds, aren't they, James? As far as like going through it, it's like high recommend. I'd say if you would ever listen to a FPL pod, like,
but they're also good.
I'd also say as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. They do
it's a dry topic, but they make it good because they're good crack as well. Like,
they did the match of the day challenge last week.
I watched that and I thought one of them had definitely knew the results by what they were saying. I only lasted 10-15 minutes watching that, but I thought it was a shame.
Was it a work?
Yeah, I think one of them was like, oh, but what if Salah didn't score? Or I just like, come on, whatever. It just like, it was it was a bit annoying. But I'd just throw 2 others in on that. One that I've only recently discovered, which I've quite enjoyed, which is called Net the Hall, which is their kind of analytical, stats-based sort of podcast. And then FPL Focal as a YouTuber. He was world #1 last year for about 4 weeks. And he ended up in the top 200, I think, top 200, 300. Really good, short, like 6-7 minute videos on YouTube of just interesting bits that he's found out and stuff.
I think he runs that website FPL Review I was talking about with that.
And
all that stuff. Yeah, so
that wouldn't surprise me. He's really good. Like, just for short, like if you're on a break at work or whatever, YouTube videos. Just like, doesn't do. I don't think anything I've ever seen him do goes past 10 minutes or whatever. But lots of good information. He also does a lot of interesting bits where, if you see anything about actual Premier League players having FPL teams and that sort of stuff, he's the guy that's what he digs all that information out and puts it on and that sort of stuff. So
I was just going to say, you're missing the best for team news, Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, exactly.
Man City captaincy. I can see your face there, Garrett. You're disgusted by all this content creators.
I hate it all.
Look at your faces. You're just like this.
I know I'm sat here on an FPL podcast, but I'm like, I hate the idea that people are sitting getting like all this spoon fed to them. Like, do it yourself.
Garrett's old school. Like, I've modelled this after, like, they used to just only be the Fancy Football Scout podcast, and that was literally Mark, who's FF Scout Mark. who does Black Box with us, him and Gramble would just sit there, just talk about the teams from last week, and they talk about the transfers and the captaincy, and it built from there. It got more complex, and it's a whole world now. And Fantasy Football Scout runs everything. But those simple days, I do miss sometimes. I was going to say just as one extra, similar to Black Box. I don't know if anybody watches Burning Questions on Scout. Like that is very, very data driven, and it's a little off-putting at first because you think it's too nerdy and too geeky. But I think once you get to know the host and you get into it, like the best information I think I get anywhere comes from those lads over there. So I'd recommend that too on the Scout Network. But yeah, we'll end this here before we offend Gareth anymore.
I could see your shoulders drooping more and more as I was reading that.
It's interesting though. I think from the stats point of view, it's kind of like how can stats end up predicting a live sport sort of thing? I guess there's kind of that. Is it
a live flowing sport? As well.
Yeah, it's kind
like
of like
one that's got lots of set pieces where you can structure and break it down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's
chaos. It's chaos theory in action. Is football,
but they do seem to hit more than you would expect. I suppose. I guess the longer it goes, the better it should get.
Yeah.
It's got to be a combination of the two for me, like because is where I don't know, you maybe see something and it's like so and so's taken this many corners for this club, and I'm thinking, well, I've watched 3 of their last games and he hasn't beat the first man in any of them or something. You know what I mean? Like so, it's an application of what you've seen as well as what the numbers are. I think.
So Andy, Jeff, and I went to Altrincham a couple of weeks ago to watch them play. And we were leaving the ground, and Jeff was like, "I wonder how many goals come direct from a corner." I was like, "It's actually 3% of goals are scored direct from a corner." just knew it because I've watched videos of that sort of thing, and just like looking into it, it's like, in the top 5 leagues in Europe, 3% of corners you get a goal direct from a corner, that sort of stuff.
And generally, Chris, them 3% are all in Rochdale games,
or it's Douglas Luiz.
Yeah.
I still think the eye test is by far the best because like you can have a game like where a striker scores 3 goals and they're all offside by half an inch, and like that won't show up on XG, that won't show up on any of his stats that you look up online. On another day, that's a massive haul. You know what I mean? And that shows that striker is consistently getting in good goal scoring positions, and he's in a team that's clearly creating chances for him. If you're somebody who never watches football, you will be completely oblivious to that fact. You know,
it's the Brentford Ivan Toney thing. What I was saying, like 2 weeks, the 2 weeks prior to this, they'd had plenty of shots on goal, but no end product. But it was like you've got to sort of keep with them because one of these days they are going to thump someone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you say that, but last year I didn't watch any games and I did really well in FPL. This year, I've watched more games than I've watched probably this millennium. Fucking 4.7 millionth in the world. So
just watch match of the day.
Stick to the numbers, Chris.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've learned some lessons here, and we still don't know if there's games this weekend. Hopefully there is, but,
mate. There isn't.
Enjoy them, folks, if they are, but it's not looking
over the Queen's dead body.
If not, watch a real sport. Watch the NFL. It starts tonight. A couple of hours.
Yeah.
Or watch the League of Ireland, particularly those Manchester. You know, if you're there, if you're in Ireland, go on and watch both.
Waterford Cork, big derby Friday night tomorrow night.
They're tasty. Well, they're winning the league, aren't they? Really? Is it not going to be confirmed in the next week? You reckon?
And they've got a DJ for the stadium now, JP. The new owners have got them a DJ, so they're flying. The whole place is going to be built.
That's what the RSC has always needed: is a DJ
and a marquee for having pints out the back. So they're all delighted down in Waterford now. They've got a marquee and a DJ. They're laughing.
Proper day out. Well, on that note, get to if maybe all like the non-league games will carry on this weekend. People can get out to
hopefully
the local club and stuff. Yeah,
get yourself to the FA Trophy preliminary round.
That's it. So if anyone's bored, there you go. There's that. But other than that, hopefully we'll be back next week. We'll see. See what the lay of the land is. If not, probably
we'll be in mourning, mate. Come on.
That's it. Show some respect. She's been red flagged, so you know. But anyway, anything else from us, JP?
Do I follow it up? No, if you want to find out all the wrestling stuff that we do, patreon.com/grapple.
How do you say goodbye in the devil's language?
Luciferian. I was just going to say goodbye. That was all I was going to
Just do it in German. Proper tribute to the Queen, then. That's what we're saying.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, pet.
Good night, all. We'll catch you
Bye.
again.
Bye.
Tschüss.